So if everybody would stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Staying with the protocol, we usually at this point ask if there's anybody who wants to say anything that's not on the agenda. It gives you an opportunity to bring something up or talk about something. We can't act on it because it's not on the agenda, so I guess at this point I'm going to ask if somebody's got something other than what's on the agenda tonight. And so moved. All right.
Excuse me.
What's?
I have something comments to make about the syringe service program.
That's
Does that fit in this period? Okay.
No, it doesn't, because that's on the program tonight.
All right.
It's on the agenda. So at this point, we get into the agenda, which first thing on the agenda is the syringe exchange program. So I know 2 meetings ago we had an open session where everybody in the public had an opportunity to speak. We really didn't, say anything outside of just posing questions or asking questions of the people that were here. So I have personally had somebody reach out to me and ask to speak tonight. I don't know what the pleasure is of the other commissioners, but if we would open some few minutes here to allow some other people to have a comment or whatever. So I guess you're up. Could you tell us who you are? And
should I stand in place?
You can come pull this chair out and sit down. You
sit down here?
Pull the chair back and sit down. Please tell us who you are.
My name is John Beckman. I'm a resident of Scott County. I live at 9753 East New London Road in the southeastern part of the county. I feel compelled to speak here this evening in support of the service syringe program, as the commissioners are about to consider voting to end it, as I understand. I followed closely the now called syringe service program since its inception at the time of the height of the county's worst problems with the spread of HIV and hepatitis C. I've watched the slow but steady reduction of cases of HIV and Hep C from a high point of 22 cases per week in 2015 to 1 in all the year 2020. This is good for Scott County, all of us in Scott County. In the same way that a vaccination program to stop the spread of another public health menace, COVID, is good for all of us. A vote to end the SSP is to turn our backs on those fellow citizens who simultaneously have an addiction problem and who are in addition a threat to public health by the nature of their addiction. It is this lethal combination that an SSP works to combat while setting up that first link to establishing trust between caregiver and the afflicted, the start of recognizing the very next long step in the process, recovery. Like the road to recovery from COVID, it can be agonizing to witness its very slow prodding. Agony aside, we're seeing progress, however. I close by adding my voice to local, state of Indiana, and national health officials, the county sheriff, and others concerned with the public welfare in Scott County. The program works. Please don't vote to stop it. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Mr. Taylor.
That'd be me.
That's you.
You got enough room for me here? My belly's kind of big.
We got plenty of room for you.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna sit here a little bit. All right, is this thing?
You used to sit on this side.
Howdy. Oh. All right, got a little thing to want to give you. Let's see. Here's one for add that to John there.
One for the attorney there. You got.
All right.
Yeah.
let's see, if we got two there, is there?
Looks like it.
But yeah, one for Randy there. All right. So here's what I want to speak about, this same thing, the needle exchange program. We have 3 grandsons that suffer with opiate addiction. They contracted hepatitis C from dirty needles. Due to the clean needle program, they did not contact HIV. We're very thankful for that. 2 are in recovery, but the 3rd Adam died December 2019 from drug overdose. May he rest in peace. We strongly recommend Scott County continue with the clean needle exchange program in order to control the spread of HIV. Now, there's some charts here, and I think you've all maybe already seen these charts, but I just want to kind of review them a little bit with you if you don't mind. The first chart is the prevalence. So you can see there the case count is kind of, in the last 5 years, has averaged about 160. Now you can see the red line is the new cases per year. With 21 in 2016 we had 21 new ones, 8 in 2017, 7 in 2018, and 8 in 2019, and last year we had 1. So you can see there's progress being made. It's on the chart. Right before our eyes. The second chart is I remember when Ross Perot got by with this.
A lot of people don't know who Ross Perot is.
I'm going to tell you another memory. I'm serious about this. How many people remember Ryan White?
I do. I've been to.
Ryan White was do you remember Ryan White, do you?
Great.
Yeah, Ryan White was a young guy from Kokomo, Indiana, who had had AIDS due to blood transfusion. And so this is what happens to you when you get AIDS. And not sure exactly what happened with him later on, but he was confined to a room completely isolated from anybody else. So that's the seriousness of what AIDS is. Now, 30 years ago, this was an epidemic. We don't talk about that nowadays, but it's still here. AIDS is still here, and people still die from it. We just don't, it's not on the tip of our tongues, but it was 30 years ago. It was a big deal. So anyway, this is what we're doing. What we're talking about is trying to prevent that from spreading. Because when the HIV increases, so does AIDS. So that's what happens. When you don't treat the HIV, you get AIDS as the result of it. And then there's no going backwards. That's it. Now, so this chart here shows the number of syringes that the program supplies, and you can see from the chart that it went up in 2016 to about 250,000 total for the year, and down now to where it's about 100. I'd say about 130, 125. So we're making progress there again. Looking good. All right. Next chart, active and new participants in the program. The yellow line is new participants. As you can see there, we went from about 350 in 2015 till today. It's about 140. So that's more progress.
Yeah, but on that chart, doesn't it show that there's still 350 active members?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but
And it has went down from 219, which is 400. I'd say 425.
Yeah, we've got a constant there of people, but the new people coming on is less. All right. The average number of visits, syringes per visit, We peaked out in 2017 with 115, and today we're at 70 per visit. So we're making progress there. It didn't do Ross Pro any good, but he tried.
It cost George Bush.
The charge. Anyway, now here's the return rate. And you see 89% is returned by the participants. And then you see that there are 3% by the community. Now the community is people that clean up, first responders, lay persons, and sometimes I think on occasion the health department gets involved in that. In other words, they will, if they find someone finds a syringe around, call them and they'll come get it. And then 8% is unreturned. Anyway, the charts show that we're making progress. Now, the Clean Needle Exchange Program does not cure or prevent opiate addiction. No. As a matter of public policy, it helps prevent the spread of HIV, thus AIDS. HIV can cause AIDS, and AIDS can cause death. There you have it in a nutshell. Bingo! The program is improving, and it appears to me that we could be working on improving the return rate better. So that's the end of my lip to flopping.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
Hey, I'm Rick Williams, and a recovering addict, and I just want to put out there, thank you for the needle exchange, because I did use them. Kept me clean from catching any HIV or anything around there. But in the same token, it put me around people that address and witness, what I was going through, kind of directed me to recovery. So all I want to say is it's a good public service. It helped me, and it's going to help a lot of other people. And Mr. Beck, Mr. Lincoln said it best. It does touch HIV and the spreads of hepatitis. And being out in the addiction, if we didn't have those clean needles, pick one right up off the street, use it, share, and that causes a whole lot of other problems in the community. So I was just compelled to say that.
I'm just curious, it worked for you, you're telling us. It worked for you. Did it also put you in contact with health? A lot of people who go through this get in contact with the health department who thrive in different organizations. I don't know if you were one of those people.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of those people. And along with, she's not here, Atlanta Meeks and some other people seen this, because there are some good people in this community.
Well, the residuals from the HIV is you get help. And I just didn't know
Right.
if that was you or not. If you can comment on some of the other addiction programs that may have helped you.
Well,
Or not, if you'd rather not, that's fine, I'm just curious.
I can comment. Excuse me, I'm nervous, because I didn't mean to come up here, I just wanted to listen. Yes, I went through an 18-month recovery course, so it took that much.
I mean, did you feel like you got that help through the health department?
Yeah, because the health department kind of says, I keep doing this, I'm gonna die. Okay. And that kind of an eye-opener. And you start to build a trust up to these people. If you're gonna ask them for needles and stuff, you start to trust those ladies, and they've been there where you're at. And they kind of make suggestions or hints, hey, check this out, do this, And ultimately, it's up to you to do that. Mm-hmm. But you still need that little positive spirit in your ear, because,
Do you think you're helping other people because you got help?
Yes, but I tell my story. I go up there and I tell my story, and I do a lot of service work, and I will definitely help the next addict along, try to help them along. But they got to ultimately want to help themselves.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad we got resources here right now in Scott County, that can help them.
Without the resources, the help isn't possible.
Right. Exactly.
Thank you, Rick.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Jesse Barger, and I did use the needle exchange program in 2015. In the early part of 2015, January through September. My actual clean date is September 2nd, 2015. And the health department actually helped me to show me resources and the love and the care that I needed. And that's what helped me was the girls working at the health department.
Good. Good. I appreciate that.
I have a question for you.
Yep.
You said, okay, obviously you wanted to get clean and you got clean, correct?
Right.
So at that point in your life, would you have looked for some way to get clean?
If it wasn't for them giving me the resources every time that I come in there, I can't say that I would have got clean.
You wouldn't have looked no other place on your own?
I don't know that. I don't know that. All I can say is
They did help.
that they helped me.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? All right, John, you got anything you want to say?
We have somebody back here.
Okay.
My name is Jason Hines, and I'm a transplant here post the HIV outbreak. I have moved here probably because of the recovery community. So my biggest fear and more of a question is the SSP brings people in for that reason so in my experience, my addiction, there's no way I would ever have sought out any other thing other than, so if you all decide to close the SSP, it's your all's decision. My fear is those people will lose contact with the people that can offer the resources. Once that's closed, no longer, I know for me in my addiction, there was no way I would face any person. There's no way I would ever seek out help. So with those people coming in to actually seek services to, hopefully use the program as it's supposed to be and return the needles as they're used, they're actually able to get those resources from people. My fear is that once this decision is made, if it's made one way, those people will basically kind of stay out of the health department and stay away from those. So that's my largest fear with Scott County is what will happen. Those people who already feel alone, because that's where I was when I was using. And I moved here to help with the recovery community. Like that was the purpose of me moving here. And I've done everything I can. And I agree with a lot of what you all say about people have to want help. But I will tell you that as a veteran, as a person in long-term recovery, like I never was willing to go look for help on my own. So my fear is those people coming in, they'll stop coming in. The needles my greatest fear is those needles will be spread around Scott County. Where do they put them? What happens? People aren't just going to come in and just say, here's these, because they don't want to be seen out in public anymore. So that's my only statement is like, I'm really afraid for what's going to happen in Scott County if you all make the decision to close the SSP. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Jason, just a little bit of a what-if question, but I'm going to ask you, what would have happened to you if you hadn't had this program to go to?
I did not use the SSP. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit up here and church it up like it's.
Okay. That's what I wanted.
I did not. I moved here post all of that, and I did not use it. But I am a person in long-term recovery, and I understand that just because the needle is removed doesn't mean that I'm going to quit using. That's the biggest statement I can make. Like if you tell me that I can't, I'm going to find another way to do it, whether it's dirty or not.
So you moved to the community as already recovered?
Yes, already in
So are
recovery.
you a recovery coach?
I am. Yes.
Okay. So you came here to seek your services.
Scott County paid me to go through. I wasn't even living in Scott County when they got the grant to pay for me to go through recovery coach training. I'm from Louisville, so I mean I moved here post all of this.
So you're
I remember
helping-
seeing it on the
You're helping
news.
other people.
I'm doing my best to help other
Okay, and I
people.
get that. I'm just curious, where'd you get your help?
Where did I get my help? Through 12-step recovery programs. That's where I got it. I'm a member here of long-term recovery. I know a lot of these people behind me that are in recovery. They're all my friends.
Okay.
Like, we do everything we can for anyone. But my real fear is what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm afraid of what's gonna happen if y'all make this decision tonight. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll say it again, anybody else?
Good to see you, Billy.
Let's go. Are you going up too, or?
Just gonna add a microphone to the.
I'll say you started making me nervous digging in your pocket.
I'm Billy Snowden. I'm a homeowner of Scott County. I've lived here all my life. Grew up out on Terry Road and live in Austin. Austin High School graduate, went to IU Southeast, stayed local, moved away for a year and a half, Mount Carmel, Illinois, and came back home because that's where home was. Peacocks and Snowdens. This is where family is. I don't know why I'm nervous. I saw you at the Dairy Queen too. I was going to say hi to you, but then I got a little nervous too.
You don't have to.
10 years ago, 11 years ago, I started walking the streets of Austin and praying for people. My wife and I, we volunteer at a church called Hope to Others, and it's an outreach place. And during that time, I started, I was going to school to get my master's degree in social work, and hated needle exchange stuff, hated lots of other stuff that had to do with needle exchanges. I would walk the streets, find needles, pick them up. Well, I scooped. You know, you find water bottles or you find cups. We had a lot more litter back then, and I just scooped the needles and disposed of them that way. And but during that time, with my research in school, I learned that there's empirical data that shows there's a reason for the needle exchanges, a lot of Louisville data, a lot of other stuff. Basically, I was concerned whenever I heard about some needle exchanges were not legal ones, and they were just out there going to the Central Park and just throwing them out there with no other stuff.
They were doing that here too for a while.
And so that was concerning to me. As I started with my classes with research and with my master's in social work, I saw there is a benefit, and the spillover benefit, of course, has to do with recovery, and that's what you've heard a whole lot about. And the piece that I see is like the information that was given earlier about the medical data and the costs of things, and that's as a taxpayer, we already got our taxes raised up a little bit with our school and everything, and that's fine. It's just concerning to me knowing that there's could be some significant costs out there with property taxes and things like that along the way because of this. And right now we have programs that's in place that's going to help pay for this if our needle exchange stays the way it is. And seeing and hearing the stories of the people that's darkened our door back and forth of how people are really helping them. I've not experienced for myself, but as just someone that's providing some counseling and therapy, people are telling me how great they feel valued there, and when they're ready, they're actually going through and making that change. And there's so many people back here and so many people that's out there and so many people everywhere that's been affected from it. And again, this is like the back part of it that has nothing to do with the real reason why we have the needle exchange, but there's a really great recovery program here in Scott County that you don't see in a lot of other places. And it's because of the people who have the heart for the needle exchange and actually doing it right. And so, yeah, there's probably some other things that they can work on, and that would be great, as they're, learning from their opportunities. But I just think that, as a tax-paying person, property owner, that I'm in favor of the needle exchange.
Okay,
Thank you all very much.
Sean, you wanna make any kind of statement or say anything, or?
Sure. I have come out in support of retaining the SSP program, and my reasons, I think, most of them have been stated here tonight. But it seems to me that all the experts, which I'm going all the way from the federal government, Jerome Adams, to our state health doctor, Dr. Box, our local health department, our local doctors, and all the people in recovery seem to think this program helps them. The numbers seem to show it helps. We have one new case, as Mr. Taylor showed us. The numbers are dramatically going down. The amount of needles on the ground is less, like almost half. This program puts people, and I'm so thankful for you today because you told what I wanted to hear. It's putting people in contact with addiction recovery programs. It seems to be, it's not just, I mean, the purpose of the program is to stop the spread of HIV, but it also it helps people in recovery. And your program Thrive takes the lead on that. So we have something to be very proud of here. This to me is a blemish. This is a county in crisis. It's a county in crisis. And we have a chance to keep making recovery here and make our county better. And the gentleman from the TV hopefully will go back and say, this county's doing something. They're not sitting on their hands counting needles all the time and complaining. They're actually helping save lives. There's a possible loss of revenue. I think that's been in some contention about how much loss of revenue there'll be. I don't actually know, but I'm sure some of the state officials can tell us. But there will be some loss. And the last thing I think could be substantial, I talked to the attorney about it. I think we all got this earlier today. I'm sorry. There's a good chance of litigation over this. I called Michelle and I don't want to go into too much detail, it's a lawyer thing, but Northwestern University School of Law, a couple of lawyers, senior fellows, director of justice policy, professor of law and health services, and I'm going to read you what they're saying. They're basically telling us that we're at risk of litigation if we shut this down, which I think could get expensive. Now, our attorney can answer how he wants to.
I think that's bull.
Well, it might be, but that's it's here. So I'm going to read it.
First of all, the state.
Can I read it to public?
Yeah, go ahead, read it.
This is just the conclusion. This is just the conclusion of them, and it doesn't mean anybody's getting sued. It's letting us know that we're at risk of litigation.
Every day.
The purpose, yes, every day, but this can get expensive.
Yeah.
The proposal to close the SSP in Scott County was detrimental public health, legal and economic consequences. The county's SSP has already proven its success at stopping the spread of HIV and hepatitis. Without it, infections will spread through the county again, as they did in 2015. It has also proven successful at significantly reducing syringe litter, which Mr. Taylor explained that to us. With greater support, it could be even more successful. Whereas, to close the SSP would return to pre-2015 levels of syringe litter in this county. By rejecting the current proposal, the county commission can, at no cost to the county, continue to promote proper needle disposal and improve the health and safety of people who inject drugs, helping bridge them to treatment and recovery. Closing the SSP, however, would burden the county budget with costs connected to the HIV, hepatitis cases, and will threaten to attract costly litigation that will be draining effect on the county. But the basis of this, as I think there are people in here who know this better than I do, is the American Disabilities Act. The people in this room are in recovery are protected by the ADA. And there's a long risk, and I'm not getting into the legal thing because I think that's not my realm, but it says we're at risk of litigation, and I know that can be expensive. Thank you. I'm for continuation of the SSP program.
I'm gonna comment on the email that I received as well with two attorneys from Northeastern University, wherever that's at. But they didn't even put an address on the email. They had a phone number, but they didn't really, you know, come out and say, hey, contact us or whatever. But I'm going to talk.
telephone number.
I'm going to talk. I said that. I said they had
Yes, sir.
a phone number. But what I'm gonna say is that I don't know who contacted them, but you know, kudos to you.
Yeah.
But the point of it is that the state of Indiana and the governor and the legislature here has given each county commissioners the right to either have a needle exchange or not to have a needle exchange, and that is the law. It's, you know, so in turn, you know, you can threaten every day and twice on Sunday to sue anybody, but just for someone to write a letter and say they're going to sue us because we're going to possibly change a program. I mean, I can say I'm going to sue somebody else tomorrow. I mean, but I don't know these guys. I don't know where they came from. Maybe they need to look at Indiana law and know that, you know, the commissioners have the right to have a needle exchange or not to have a needle exchange. And the ones that were here a couple of weeks ago with Dr. Box, I asked her specifically if the governor thought this was the greatest program for Indiana, then he can mandate it for every county. And I've had a doctor that called me and said, you know, maybe it should be something that the governor does, you know, because, you know, passing the buck to the local communities is on certain items is sometimes not the way to go with this. But yes, I received the same email. I'm sure you received the same email. I saw you copied on it. We'll give it to our attorney. I told him I'd send it to him tonight. And for anybody that knows, this is Zach Stewart, our new county attorney. Heck of a first day, but anyway, Randy, you got anything you want to say?
I mean, about that letter, yeah, sure. If we are going to be sued, I guess we're going to be in good company because we're only one of 9 that the counties that has this program. So I guess we're going to have to sue all the others for not being in the program. So I don't put a whole lot of stock in that, you know. But that's it for the letter. I've got other on the.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. I'd like to say, you know, first off, I think the health department has done a heck of a job, and I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. But you know, there's things that are not always real clear about this needle program. And the things that ain't clear are we cannot say that the needle program alone came in here and turned back the HIV, okay? Public awareness also played a hand in that. You know, I believe everybody, when they started saying, hey, you know, there's HIV in Scott County, stop sharing needles. I'm sure that affected some people and made them stop sharing needles. But you don't know about everybody.
Everybody I mess with, that didn't stop.
I understand. I understand. Now,
All right,
and
I'm gonna ask everybody to, you know, not make comments. Everybody was quiet when everybody else was speaking, so I want to ask the same respect for everybody else. So if we can't do that, then we'll clear the room or do something else. But I expect everybody to get the same respect that we gave everybody else. So please don't make any rude comments or comments at all. So go ahead, Randy. I'm sorry.
now, will I say that the needle exchange program didn't work? No. I'm sure that it did help. Okay? But you know, here's also a 65-page report. This report was done by the National Bureau of Economic Research. And in this report, it tells that the syringe program works. It drops rates by 11.6%. But opioid-related mortality rates goes up by 25.4%. This was a study done in every state, every county, used the FBI, and I'll give you a copy. They used the FBI, the CDC, and WHO to show their figures. And they laid it all out. I mean, it was very thorough. And I wouldn't have brought it unless it was very thorough, because I know that everybody is going to argue with it. And I'd be glad to give my copy to anybody who wants it. I've read it. Other countries outside of the United States are all fighting this differently. And Austria is one of the countries that have been fighting this longer than we have. And they do not use a needle exchange program. They say it does not work. I have that here also. I'm not sure that it wouldn't be a good idea to have it with a mental health expert to work with people. If you was handing out syringes and doing the mental health, actually that's what this report says. When you do the mental health along with needle exchange programs, it does better. But when you just hand out the needles and you don't have a psychologist working with the people when they come in for the needles, that your death rate goes up. Now, everybody's going to say in here probably that the death rate is up so high right now because of COVID. And we can't say that. We can't prove that. But what I can prove to the coroner's office is I'm not exactly sure where we're at right this minute. You have that, Randy?
Yeah. We're at 8 today with 5 pending.
And that's without toxicology.
That's
back.
correct.
Yeah.
That's for 221 or 2021.
Okay. And last year, we had
24
with 74 calls, overdose calls.
I don't have that. I do have the overdose calls, but I have them from the inception of there's 358 overdose calls since the end of 2015.
Okay.
And that's kind of a skewed number for the fact that in the beginning 911 were reporting those differently. So,
Right.
And it's hard to read their report, but that is the number I got off their report.
And there's a couple things about that number. Now that we have the Narcan, and people can take Narcan home with them and keep Narcan, you don't always know when there's been an overdose, because that ambulance ain't always called.
I got a report for that too.
You know,
Well, actually, this report started to generate in April of 2018. In April of 2018, 41 Narcan was gave to 41 people. In May, the next month, 27 were gave. The next month, 55 were gave. 12, 37, 52, 52, 79, 61. So what that tells you is that somebody's overdosing and they're self-medicating themselves, and no one knows that they're overdosing. And that's just for 18. It gets higher. For 2019, it's 493. For 2020, it was 1,589. So no one knows. 911 doesn't know, and normally that's how we would track overdoses is through the 911 system and knowing, hey, they're calling for help. But when people are self-medicating themselves or self-administering Narcan, we don't know that number anymore. So we can say our numbers are down, but are they truly down, or are they, or there's people out here having overdoses that they're, are they having overdoses that they are self-medicating themselves? So, and in turn, not seeking help at a hospital or further treatment. So go back. So that's it.
All right, so, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, in 2014, the year before this program came in, there was 4 overdoses, deaths. Right now, overdose deaths, period, in the United States is higher than any gun death has ever been. Now, am I concerned about HIV and hepatitis? Absolutely, I am. Very worried about it. What I'm more concerned about is the people we cannot bring back to life. And I can tell you right now, and I'm not picking on the health department when I say this, they've done their job, they've done a good job. But they do not keep track of the people who have died in their program. That is what I want to say, that's a statistic that's never shared. And you cannot blame it on them either. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying if you're really looking at whether or not a program works, that is a statistic that you have to have. You have to track everything. That's all I got to say.
All right.
Mike, could I say something?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, due to symptoms I was having secondary to recent injury, I wasn't able to speak. But I just want to say, as the county health officer, as a lifelong resident of Scott County, as a family practitioner here for 34 years and county health officer for over 20 years, I am just personally fearful for the state of health of our county if the syringe service program is allowed to expire. When we were here in 2015, I was putting in at least 30 to 40 extra hours over and above what I was putting in my private practice. More than I'd ever worked, and I'd never seen the state of health of our county as a family practitioner, as a health officer for those years, as bad as it was then. And even, it took the assistance of CDC, State Health Department, so many others, and I feel like that great progress was made, and I feel like the state of the health of our county in general improved significantly. I saw many people fearful who weren't even involved, but they were just people coming to me, calling me, fearful of what was going to happen to the county if the numbers of syringes were allowed to continue to be in the parks, in the playgrounds, on the streets. I've not had that concern expressed to me now for several years. And I just have to be honest and say that I am fearful that we will find ourselves in a much worse health situation as a county if we do not continue with the syringe service program. I won't, be redundant and try to get any more specifics. I've spoken about that before, and I know other medical personnel have, but I just feel like it was my obligation to make some statement as a health officer and reflect on the experience I've had here in the past 34 years.
Okay. But now, it's true that you can now purchase needles from Amazon, right?
Yes.
By the hundreds, delivered to your door.
You can buy needles anywhere without a
Buying it
prescription.
or something.
Right.
You can buy them at Orson, right? So, okay, I just want to make sure that everybody here knows that.
I just want to follow up with some context about some things that both of you said. So Randy, the paper that you're referring to is, the second paragraph on this says, working paper, it's a working paper, are circulated for discussion and comment purposes. They have not been peer reviewed, meaning that peers who also do this kind of research have not looked at this paper. This individual wrote it on her own, or been subject to the review of the NBER Board of Directors that accompanies official NBR publication. So this is not a published paper. And I looked up this author. She's had many other publications through the NBER since 2019 when she wrote this paper. So to me, that says that she wrote this paper, it's not been peer reviewed, it's not been published in the last 2 years, so therefore there aren't other people in her field of expertise that supports her methodology. But
Well, that could be because nobody is willing to pay her to do that research like they are getting paid to do the research for the
She
needle
answered that
exchange
question in her, so when you write a paper like this, you're asked questions to defend your paper. And somebody asked her, who is funding you and are you an advocate against SEPs? My research is funded only by my university. I'm not receiving funding for any agency or think tank. This study has no political agenda. I'm not working for or against SEPs, but rather trying to bring to light data and information to help public health officials make the most cost-effective and beneficial decisions when implementing policy. A lot of other questions. Talks about like why it's so different from other research that promotes SEPs. And she says, for the most part, my findings don't differ. Most studies to date look at HIV rates exclusively. I find that HIV rates decrease after SEPs are introduced. So like I think there's just more context to what was said. And the same thing for when you said, we can't keep track of who overdoses in our program. And we can, we talked about that last time. That's the SEP law at the state. It says people who come into the program, whether you're in Scott County or the other 8 counties, they have to be unidentifiable. So yes, we could tell you who overdosed, but we really can't tell you who overdosed because we're not supposed to know any of their personal information.
But you could give us a number, right, when we ask for a number.
But we can't because every person who comes into our program is unidentifiable. That's
I
the law.
understand that. You can give a number. You're not giving me a name. You're not giving me a history. You're not giving me, you could give a number.
But if I identify that person, then I identify that person as the person in the program.
I didn't ask for the person's name.
But then if I put that person as a number, that's saying that person's in the program.
No. If I ask you how many people in your program has passed away
Right.
that was in the needle exchange program from overdose,
Right.
you just give me a number.
But how do I know who it is?
Okay, so 25 people, let's say 25 people, and we've had 94 deaths. I don't know which 25 people do.
I don't know which 25 people are in the needle, or if any of those people are in the needle exchange program because they're all identifiable.
What my point is, if you're going to do true numbers,
That's the law. I'm obeying the law. I do care. I care deeply. Wow. Very deeply. When Mike reads these numbers about 1,539 Narcans that we gave out last year, that's 1,539 lives that we saved. So yes, we do care very deeply. I'm going to stop it there. I think it's getting a little bit crazy. I'll pass it back to Mike, but I just wanted to put in clarification. I think context is everything, but there's more information out there than that.
I think the coroner's office has the information we're talking about. They can tell you.
That's what I got
They
there.
can tell you who died, and I think their numbers might be a little skewed
I've got
because
their
several
numbers.
people who die of overdose in this county end up in Louisville. Transferred there, and the numbers get transferred to Louisville. So it is hard to give an exact number.
Rarely does an overdose victim go outside of Scott County because it's
But it does happen.
All right, I've never seen it. At the times that I've rode in an ambulance doing CPR on somebody, they either pass away at the ER or they wake up and are discharged. I'm not saying there's not a different case or something, but I have been there. I've done that, but One thing that, and I'm a numbers person, and I have a hard time with this number, and I've questioned Dr. Adams about it, I've questioned Dr. Box about it in previous meetings. 157.21. You go 157 in 2014 to 2015, you go to the next year you drop to 21 HIV cases. 157 to 21. You know, that's almost a statistical myth. I mean, that you can drop from 157 cases that happen from one strand of HIV to 21 the next year. Those numbers are hard to believe. So, but anyway, we went from 157 to 21. Let me see what the next number was. To 8, 7, 8, and 1. I just have a hard time with the 157 number. So, and no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In partial answer to that, at least, you know, we found that most of the people had no idea how they were acquiring HIV. Again, for most of our citizens in this community, they associate HIV with an illness that was only acquired by homosexual activity. And it wasn't until they started coming to the Syringe service program where they had access to, every week when they brought Syringe in, people who could educate them and tell them. And once they learned that, oh, you know, I'm sharing this needle, and that's how I'm passing HIV to this person, that person. So I think it really is not hard to imagine that number shrinking from 157 to 21. Once we had several months to educate people, and they realized how this was occurring.
Yeah.
And once they had clean needles and didn't have to share, then they weren't going to be passing it on. And had they not had clean needles, we may have had another 157 in another year.
Well, I became a fireman in 1981, and since then became a first responder as far as medical runs. So I've been doing that for probably 20 plus years, and going into people's houses that you're going there for different reasons outside of an overdose, and you walk into a person's house and they kind of tight-lipped about any of their medical issues. The next time you go to that same house and they tell you, hey, I've got HIV, or I'm hepatitis C, or whatever. So that was long before the 214, 215, or anything else. So we've lived with HIV in Scott County before this mythical number of 157. That's where I'm getting at. That you can say that all of a sudden everybody, you know, got tested, or everybody, you know, became aware of the situation. But again, the 157 number, I knew prior to that number ever being available, there were people in Scott County with HIV. So anyway, I'm gonna give my 10 cents here, because we're going on here. The other part of this, and again, I want to appreciate the health department as well, because this is my second term as a commissioner, and I've bent her ear many a time about certain items and certain things, and how she gets a report, and then I want to also tell every recovering addict that I'm proud that you have recovered. I mean, Mr. Williams and other people. I mean, that is a hard thing to do, because, you know, again, I've Narcaned a lot of people. I've been on a lot of overdoses, and I wonder, speaking to the families and some that are they getting it? Are they going to get into recovery? Are they going to ask for help? And sometimes they don't. I mean, and sometimes, you know, they don't have that desire. I mean, so in turn, that's frustrating to a certain extent on my part. But I've got a prepared note here that I'm going to read and try to get through as best I can. So again, I will agree that HIV is a very serious issue here in Scott County, although difficult. You know, again, I have a hard time with the 151 number. and I look at, I say that because I pulled up the Indiana Health Department's or their reports. I see the state of Indiana, it's a map, and on every county they have 5 negative. So HIV cases don't get reported unless they're 5 or over. So in turn, when you see all these other counties that have none that are being reported, but then all of a sudden you see Scott County down here in the little Scott County down here with 151, and you're like, what is going on here? I mean,
Mike, in fairness to you, I agree, and we felt suspicious. I know Dr. Cook did, and many of the health officials here felt that we had cases out there that had not been identified. But people would not be tested, they would not come in.
I get that.
And it was only once the syringe service program was established, when they had to come in and exchange their syringes, then they would agree to finally be tested. And yes, that's maybe part of the reason we had such a huge number right off.
When did they start testing in the jail?
Shortly after that. I don't know the exact date.
So some of them were tested when they entered the jail, so at that turn they would have that number as well.
But again, so many of these people just didn't seek any services.
I get that.
Testing, signing up.
Well, I mean,
for
there's still some
treatment.
out there that I know people in the medical field that people when they get a blood test or something, they refuse to have that tested. I mean, I still know that. I mean, I've got family that are pharmacists and doctors, and they say they will not. They don't. You can test me for anything, but don't test me for that. So let me go on here. We'll never get through this. In the recent meetings, I heard others say, educate yourself. Well, I think I did. I think I probably wore Michelle out asking questions. I was reaching out to people in Indianapolis. I was reaching out to some other people. Looked stuff up on the good old internet and come up with some other things. But the one thing that I do know that I want to clarify, that there's more than 2 needles been picked up in Scott County. I got one in my car out there right now. I picked up on Leota Road and Frontage Road yesterday. So I've turned them into a box, and sometimes, I'm sorry, but I put the bottle and everything in that dumpster. But anyway, there's more needles dropped out here, and it's not about, to me, as much about the needles. I'm going to show anybody that wants to look, come up here and look. Again, I was telling you I was a volunteer fireman. This house I went to, I'm not going to give an address or tell who it was, but I walked into this house, and I can't give the date, but it was, the snow was flying this last year. I was the first one there, walked in, there was no power in the house, walked through the house with my flashlight on my phone, found the guy in the bathroom. Asked him what was going on. He was, how most people are. He was talking, but he said he hadn't used anything or anything. And I looked down at my phone, and in his hand, coupled like this, was the syringe. Reached down, pulled it out, put it on the shelf, which it's in this picture. After I got looking around, after I knew he had been Narcaned and other people were showing up, I asked my firemen to leave, because every place I could get my light, there was a syringe or there was a uncapped syringe. So when I say that people are abusing the system, and I've said this from the get-go, is that there's people out here that if they wanted to keep this program, that they would take some responsibility themselves and take care of disposing of them. Because I know you guys give them a sharps container as well. So that upsets me when I go to a scene and things like that happen. I mean, it's I know there's doctors that want to say that they're this is going to come out wrong, that they're there to help as well, but they don't see this. I mean, they see them rolling in on a gurney in the ER because they're already out of that environment, and they're in a sterile environment where they're going. So in turn, I'd almost challenge any doctor that I want to know if they've even witnessed an overdose, if they've even, outside of an ER or hospital, have you ever seen one? Have you ever, administered Narcan to someone in outside of your office? I mean, but I'd venture to say the answer is no. And then I hear in the last meeting here about this subject, oh, your chances of getting stuck and having to get HIV is simple to none. Well, that might be right, but I've had a deputy sheriff call me one night that he got stuck and he was concerned about his health and his family's health. But I went and looked, and per CDC, 300, and this is for healthcare workers, but CDC said there's 385,000 healthcare workers a year that are stuck. 1 out of 300 will contract HIV. 1 out of 3 will contract hepatitis B, not C. So I mean, I know there's a treatment, and the gentleman that was here last week made a comment, well, there's a treatment. Well, you know what? I don't like getting bit by a dog and having to take all those shots either, but why should somebody have to be treated? Why should they have the cost of the treatment and the pain of, I guess, I don't know what the treatment is. I know there's 2 different drugs and possibly a third one depending on what you do. So, I mean, there's that needle stick that you don't want or you do want. But I don't want it, I've been, like I said, in situations where they're not, and everybody go, well, you don't get in that situation. Anyway, on to the next thing. Overdoses, the overdose rate for Scott County, and this is what I gathered from our local coroner. 2015 to 3 of 2016, there was 7 overdose deaths. In the year 2017, there were 17 overdose deaths. In 2018, there were 12. In 2019, there were 6. In 2020, there were 24, and to date, there's 8. That's 74 people have died in Scott County from overdoses. And to my knowledge, not one person's ever died of HIV in Scott County. So I'm like Randy. The overdoses is killing people. I mean, and that's a sad part of this whole thing. And I also said earlier, 2015 to 2021, pulled the reports from 911, 358 overdose calls. And again, from the report I gave you earlier with how many Narcans are gave out, I mean, 1,589 Narcans in 2020. That's 1,589 overdoses. So, you can look at it any other way you want, but that's between, between 2018 when they tracked it to present date, and I'm going to, that's almost 3,000 overdoses that were not reported through 911. The person didn't go to the hospital, and we don't know if they survived or they didn't. Also, and I know there's people here that's been Narcan, people here that's overdosed. The fear of self-medicating with Narcan is that it wears off. And if you died once because of the overdose and fentanyl, the Narcan's a temporary fix. It's going to wear off, and you're going to, you think you're all right, and then you get away from your family, your friends, or whatever, and you're going to overdose again, and there's not going to be anybody there. Hopefully there's somebody there, but you could be alone. You could go to sleep thinking you're going to wake up, and you don't. So that's a problem I have with handing Narcan, and I'm not saying to do away with the Narcan whatsoever. I think it does what it says it's doing. It extends until somebody decides that they're going to fix themselves and they're going to take the accountability and say, today's the day I'm going to change. There was something brought up last time about the insurance and the cost to the jail, the cost of the county. There was talks about raising taxes. The insurance, the Ryan White, it's called ADAPT, ADAP. It is a program that 52 people are on here. 19 of them currently are in the jail last week. But that pays in the jail for 6 months, and then at 6 months, from an email we received, states that after 6 months that they hope that that person has been legally processed through the jail and are either let loose, sent to the Department of Corrections or something else. So, but anyway, the way it's broke down, Michelle gave me the information, was that 71 HIV positive cases are Medicaid and Medicare insurance. 52 of them HIV of the ADAP, 19 presently in the jail. 3 of them are private insurance, and 11 of them are cases that are currently at the Department of Corrections, for a total of 157 of the 151. So in turn, you know, 137 of the people are on some sort of insurance, whether it's, you know, the temporary, the 6 months or whatever. So, and I know there's a cost. There's a cost with any kind of disease that we would look at, whether it's HIV, cancer, heart disease, or other diseases out there. There's a cost to all those. So just to single out and say HIV is a costly disease, it's not alone. I mean, it's definitely not alone. So anyway, the other part is, again, I said about the 6 months for the treatment in the jail. Also know that one's not related to the other. If you know, that's a program that could continue, whether the needle exchange is here or it's not. And I know there was a county deputy that was on Facebook sending out stuff saying that our taxes are going to go up. Well, I don't know if he's got that capability to raise somebody's taxes or not, but I don't think he does. So, but anyway, I think that was a scare tactic. Also, he was quoted. He said he quoted Dr. Box saying that no money would be received if you're not in the needle exchange, and that's exactly not what she said. She said it is a benefit to be in the needle exchange, and that on a grant application would benefit that. So there's another misconception of something else. He also said that no commissioner had the right to, in the input of releasing prisoners. He's exactly right. I don't have the input on doing that. I guess speaking with the prosecutor, and going back to the COVID situation, it was amazing how we had almost 200 people in jail and COVID hit, and we emptied the jail like it was on fire. So I would hope that if we got in a situation that we could remedy the law or the legal system and speed that process up. Also, there was a misquote, and I'm sorry, but it upsets me to no end when somebody says something and nobody can repeat it and nobody can go back and say that's not a fact. But as far as the deputy saying that the real estate, I didn't know he was a real estate specialist, but all of a sudden he was talking about the market on property value going up. It's supply and demand. I mean, there's not a whole lot of houses on the market, so whatever the market is based on how many people and what houses are out there. So just a few misconceptions. The other part of this is I'm going to go to the doctors. It's obvious that this board of commissioners, and actually it was me and 2 others, but it's still this board of commissioners now. We filed a lawsuit against Purdue Pharma almost 3 years ago. We were the first ones to ever do that, and that settlement's getting ready to happen probably by the end of this year. But when you have pharmaceutical companies that create drugs out here, you hope that the FDA or actually it's not the FDA, what is it? EDA, yeah. So anyway, you hope that they do their research and they know that this drug is a good drug or whatever. The opioids, when they first came out, Oxycontin and Opana and stuff, those were drugs for cancer patients. They were for extreme painkillers for cancer patients. And I remember when Oxycontin was coming out, you'd go to an overdose, you could Narcan them, and all of a sudden Opana comes out. You'd have to Narcan them twice as much because Opana was twice as strong. But my point here is that we had chemists and scientists developing drugs that we thought were safe to the public. We had doctors that were going to school for 12 years to figure out how to take, to take care of their patients. So when a pharmaceutical comes in and tells you, hey, this is a great drug and it'll cure everything and it's going to take the pain away and everything else, so they administer that drug to their patients and I hope in a way that they're thinking this is the best drug for my patient at this time. Dr. Box said in the last meeting that we were talking about this was that I asked her about the numbers of doctors in Scott County that were still prescribing opioids and what that number was. And well, she looked it up while she was still sitting here. And she came back and she said that local doctors, not anybody outside of the address of Scott County, are writing 252 prescriptions per 1,000 people. Indiana's average is 180. So we still have doctors in our community that are overprescribing an opioid that I'd like to ask them why. I mean, because you know it's addictive. You know that even when they came in and took the Oxycontin and put a coating on it, I was told that they scrape the coating off, and dissolve it, or they do other things to be able to use it. So, and I know the drug of choice right now is not a over-the-counter prescription drug, but when that drug is cheaper, they go to different ways. So anyway, I guess my thing is that I read an article that one of our local doctors put out that said that by ending the needle exchange is a heartless and cruel act, and I'm going to tell you that I don't see it that way. If I thought that way, I wouldn't go out tonight at 3 o'clock in the morning and Narcan somebody or go try to do CPR on somebody that's overdosed. So it's not political, it's not partisan, it's not about politics whatsoever to me. It's when I see a person that's overdosed, and I can still see a friend of mine's kid that still had the needle stuck in his arm, and if I knew that that was prior to me being a commissioner, but if I knew that needle was a needle that I gave him or supplied to him through the health department for him to do that, I'd have a really hard time understanding how I could do that. So anyway, I'm going to end here with just saying that I think that the health department again has done what they were tasked to do, and they did it well. I think that whatever happens tonight, nothing ends. I mean, the main objective of any person here is recovery. I mean, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to come off weird, but for people in the retail business know what a loss leader is. It's an object to get somebody to come in your door to sell you something else. So in turn, a needle is a loss leader. It's enticing someone to come in the door to turn around and get another service. Our goal or our challenge is going to be to figure out if this, I don't know how this vote's going to go, but I mean if it goes away, my goal would be to challenge how we figure out how to get them back in the door. In recovery,
That's a great question.
but I mean, what other counties are doing, what other sheriff's departments are doing with their HIV, I mean, those are questions that need to be asked, because just because we end something doesn't mean something new can't start. I mean, I know, and I've looked up the definition, and I know I've been preached to about enabling, but I know people that are alcoholics, and I don't buy them a bottle of whiskey, and I know people that try to, want to kill themselves, and I don't buy them a bullet for their gun. So I have a hard time handing a needle to somebody that I know they're going to hurt themselves with. And you can say that, they can catch all these, other things with a needle, but the one thing that Randy said earlier is when you're dead, you're dead. And there's no bringing you back. I mean, you can treat yourself for HIV, you can treat yourself for hepatitis C, but you can't treat yourself for dead. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I mean I've had friends of mine that have lost kids. I lost a nephew, so I know it's tough. It's a bad thing, but I was hoping that some other people would be here, because I'd really like to know from the experts. They tell you this is a good plan, and it was, and it still is, and it still does what it's meant to do. But someone somewhere has to have a cure for addiction, and to me, pardon me.
Will you let us know when you find it?
Please. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it's personal responsibility. And you can moan, groan, or whatever, but until this gentleman right here said, until he decided he was going to change, that's it. And personal responsibility is the backbone of everything. I mean, you have to take responsibility for yourself. I take it. I think everybody else, in this room takes it. But you can't just, push it under the door and go, well, and I've heard it since I've been here, and I've heard it before I was ever a commissioner, that, oh, well, when they finally decide to change, they're going to change. Well, they have to make that decision. Nobody, you can't put them in jail and force them to do it. You can't, mom, dad can't lock them in the door in their room and say, you're not going to get out because until you change your ways. You have to find that way or the reasoning to change that.
If I may make a comment, it's just like with my diabetic patients, for example. Many times,
Quit talking about me.
I continue to prescribe their medicine, but they don't follow their diet. They don't exercise. They continue to come to my office, have sky-high sugars. I talk to them each time, I had one patient, this went on for 2 years. 3 times he threatened as he walked out and slammed the door, I'll not be back. I would make him mad because I would encourage him. I would tell him what he needed to do. A few months later, he'd be back again. After 2 years, he came in one day and we do a test that assesses, what the average of his blood sugar was. And it was where it should be. And I looked at him and I said, what happened? He said, finally, what you said hit a chord. It took me 2 years, but it finally hit a chord. And he's been well controlled since then. But in the meantime, I didn't deny him his insulin. I didn't deny him the supplies that he needed. I knew he wasn't really acting responsibly. He hadn't gotten to that point. Like you say, you have to take personal responsibility. This happens so often with diabetics now. This is a simple comparison, but, and in the meantime, sometimes they may overdose by taking too much insulin. But I don't decide to withhold their insulin because I know generally that insulin is going to help them and they need it. It may not get them right then to where they need to be, but it's going to help the sugar from even being higher. And so in the meantime, you continue to support them. I continue to have them come to my office, try to again talk to them about diet and exercise, and checking their blood sugars, and hoping, like it was with this gentleman, that one day it hits a chord and they decide then to take personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Lincoln wants to say something.
Oh, the 157, there were no statistics before that. That's just when the program started. That's why you had 157.
Well, no,
The 21
they said the other day that
next year.
they said that 157 was one strand of HIV, and it came from one person. So.
Somebody told you that?
Yeah. So think about that.
157 people that were tested, and the year before, there was no statistics.
I get that.
That's where the program started. That's why that number's there, and then the 21 is added the next year.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Mike, I just wanted to say one more thing to you, that yeah, took my own responsibility that I needed treatment. But I had to do certain things to treat my disease. And one is like right now coming to this meeting talking and then talking to AA or talk to other addicts, doing my 12-step program, being spiritually fit. So it's not something I just decided one day that, oh, I'm gonna be better. There's a whole program.
Oh, I get that.
That takes it. That's, I just want.
I've got friends of mine went through, the American, is it, what's the one up north? Salvation Army, yeah, it came to me. Salvation Army, I mean, he went up, one of them went twice, and sometimes it kicks and sometimes it doesn't.
They don't treat you mentally.
Mr. Williams, I'd like to thank you for coming. It took a lot of bravery to come here and put yourself in front of everybody. But I would like to, the State Health Department, I haven't heard from them tonight. Would you guys mind, if there's anything, misconceptions we've heard tonight, or anything that could be added to what we're hearing? I mean, I'd just like to hear from y'all.
Sure. My name is Jeremy Turner. I'm the Director of HIV, STD, and Hepatitis at the State Department of Health. You know, I was here last time with Dr. Box and Dr. Adams, and I'm from Evansville. And before syringe services were available in Indiana, I used to work, I started out grassroots. I used to do outreach with homeless folks, people who were actively injecting. And we had things we would do. We tried to teach them how to clean their supplies. We tried to show them how to use safely, but we knew that that was going to be a hard time for people in active addiction. The state, obviously, you know, when I was here last time, the reason that we don't have syringe services in every county is Indiana's local control. We want their local communities to decide whether this is right for them or not. Scott County, there's no other county in our state with as many people who actively use substances that have HIV. This is unique. You know, one of the things, why didn't we have it before? Well, back in the day, you know, and being from a smaller part of Indiana myself, they cut services in the rural parts of the state. They reallocated funding to Indianapolis, and they took funding away from communities like Evansville, Princeton, where my family's from, Gibson County, Spencer County. You know, they cut way back, and there was a lot less prevention, a lot less testing happening. And, you know, I didn't work at the state when the outbreak happened. I worked for one of the nonprofit organizations, and I was sending my teams down here to Scott County to do the testing, to get people linked to care. And I can tell you that apart from your successful syringe program, which beats the odds, beats many numbers of other syringe programs in the country, you got the best viral suppression of any county in the state. And when you have viral suppression so low, even though when you're talking about sexual transmission, when you're undetectable, you can't transmit to other people. But when viral suppression's so low, it's hard for people to transmit. It's harder for them when they share supplies to transmit to other people. And so all of those things are success. We want you to do what's best for your community. You know, you talk about mental health services. If funded more mental health services with your syringe program is going to keep your syringe program, let's have that conversation. I'd love to do it. And so whatever we can do, the CDC's been calling me every other day, worried to death about this program ending and what it's going to mean for Scott County. They called me 3 times today. So if there's anything we can do to help you keep it and to help make it what's best for your community, we stand ready to do it. We're going to continue to be serving the people with HIV in your county. And so whatever we can do, you know, it's a priority for us. This has brought us national recognition. Right now, it's brought us national acclaim for the success that you've had. And I'm sorry that it is not, does not resonate with everybody in the same way of the public health folks who feel like it's been such a success story since the beginning, which was such a tragedy. So I don't know if there's anything specifically that I can answer.
No, I just want to hear from you. You guys have been here tonight and heard everybody. You guys, the state of Indiana, I listen to you. I think they do too. And it appears to me like this is a success story.
It is. It absolutely, from all the people who are higher up in the field than I am, and nationally has been a source of renown for what can happen, because one of the things you don't see a lot too is so much community support, just your citizens coming out and showing up and supporting it, and that's something that we don't see. And You know, we have a lot of other counties that with less success, like Wayne County, they just voted for a 2-year extension, and their program doesn't show near the kind of numbers that Scott County's does. But you know, it was right for them, and so we stand, you know, ready to be partners, and you know, regardless of the outcome, we're going to be here for you. But this is something that we see as playing a vital role in helping keep your disease burden low and keeping people healthy.
I might be wrong here, but I think Madison County stopped their program at one time. And I think they started it back up. But if my understanding is right, when they stopped it, they found out real quick the HIV started to spread. Am I correct on that? And so they restarted the program back up. I don't understand why, but they hired a private company to run it, Aspire, is that who it is? And now they're having success again, am I correct?
Yes, Aspire also is a large provider of mental health and substance use counseling services, and so that's a place where you can combine, as was mentioned before, it's very easy to combine the Syringe services with mental health.
But when they closed it, did not the numbers start inching back up?
Every county that did not have an implemented syringe service program saw increased rates of hepatitis C.
Especially
so,
hepatitis.
Yeah, especially hepatitis C.
Not necessarily HIV.
There are HIV rates. Indiana's a mid to low incidence state, so what happened in Scott County with the number of cases is incredibly rare, and so only a handful of cases would be a significant increase in a lot of the counties that we have. But hepatitis, we were #1 in the country in 2019. And so in some of the highest prevalence places is where we see our active syringe program. So, and then places that rank high on a vulnerability index are where we target to hopefully implement more.
And I think hepatitis gets played down a little bit because we talk so much about HIV. And I think we've talked about this before, but is hepatitis as serious as HIV as a illness?
Hepatitis is a very serious illness. One of the things that's been, since I've been in, I started in 2004 down in Evansville working, and we didn't have the kind of treatment we do now, but people can be cured for hepatitis, it just costs a lot of money. And so, you know, HIV medications cost between $800,000 and $18,000 a month. Curative care for hepatitis is not as expensive as that, but you're talking, you know, tens of thousands of dollars per person for that treatment.
Well, I don't see on these numbers here anywhere. I mean, do we have the amount of cases of hepatitis? Is that available? I mean, we focus so much on HIV, I don't hear as much as I think we should about hepatitis. Do they go hand in hand? Usually somebody gets HIV, they probably got hepatitis.
95% of people who are diagnosed with HIV in the outbreak also have hepatitis, so.
Okay, so I think I'm trying to go
I
back.
think it's in your original packet from a month ago.
So if we do away with this program, it sounds like the cases of hepatitis would also go up. And from what has happened in Madison County, they go up faster than HIV.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Hepatitis is over 100 times more contagious than HIV.
Okay. And is it as serious as for people dying from it?
If it's untreated, they're very different. And people respond very differently. Even with HIV, it doesn't impact everybody who's infected the same way. But there are serious health implications.
Okay.
And so it is something that should be taken very seriously and does require very expensive treatment.
But the program helps stop the spread of hepatitis also.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I'd like to clarify just one point. We do have mental health services available through the Syringe Service Program. We partnered with LifeSpring way back from the start, so that when they come in for syringe service, that's why it's called syringe services, other services provided, and they can, you know, when they talk to someone there, if they're interested in mental health, they can be sent right there at the hall to mental health, where we have psychiatrists there on board. And we didn't have that in Scott County before the Syringe Service Program. It was only when we started that we now have, on a weekly basis, psychiatrists right there on site. And they do provide mental health counseling there.
Well, something to think about here is that just because one program could possibly stop doesn't mean all the others are going away. I mean, people have the myth that, oh yeah, you can't do counseling, you can't do the Narcan handout, you can't do all these other things that you do.
But in reality, most of these other services are only accessed because they come for the syringe.
I get that, but one doesn't cancel the rest of them out. So,
The gentleman here wanted to.
Yeah. I got a question for you. You being a doctor, okay, please, just be honest. Life Springs, how much experience does that counselor actually have when they're hired?
She's not a counselor, she's a psychiatrist. I mean, they have counselors there, but then they have a psychiatrist who deals specifically with substance abuse.
And how long, on average, how long has that psychiatrist actually been a psychiatrist?
A number of years. I don't know exactly how many, but greater than 10 years, certainly. She's been there on site for several years, and she was dealing with this, in other locations years before that.
I mean, the reason, what I'm getting at here is a lot of times the psychiatrists and stuff at places like Life Springs, they come out of college, they're making $14.50 something an hour. They have doctor bills they have, they have school bills they have to pay for. They're not going to stick around for $14.50 an hour very long. They're going to, and the only reason that they can, in a lot of these areas, move, or they have to move in order to, and I'm sorry, Phil, you helped me out with this. I'm trying to quote some of what you said. But they have to move places before they can get a higher pay.
Yes, and we try to first secure psychiatric services for the syringe service program, for what we often term the one-stop shop, because they can go there, with one stop and receive multiple services. We certainly talked about that. President of LifeSpring and I talked, and several others on our health board talked, and we said we need someone, of course, who can deal with substance abuse specifically. Now, they also deal with other psychiatric problems because these same patients do have depression, of course, oftentimes, anxiety, other psychiatric problems, And some of them may not immediately decide to seek treatment for substance abuse, but they want to be treated for their depression. And then again, finally, once they get in with the psychiatrist, then they decide, okay, after all, I will try to deal with my substance abuse issue. But so that psychiatrist does deal with other psychiatric problems, but she also has specific background, and experience in dealing with substance abuse.
On average I'm sorry,
Oh, I just want to make, you're kind of confusing the two terms. You're talking about a social worker, like the $14, $15 an hour, that's going to be a social worker. So he or she is going to do your intense outpatient treatment. So 2 to 3 times a week, you're going to go meet with her, him, do groups with that person. And your psychiatrist is the medical doctor, went to medical school. They're going to prescribe you medications if they feel like that's necessary for your recovery. So your social worker won't be prescribing you medications, but doing those support social services.
And so they have
all right, thank
psychologists.
you. And my question is, how long has Scott County had such a great doctor? I mean, multiple doctors, like we do other counties.
Are you talking about the psychiatrist?
About 5 years.
No, I'm asking, for how many years have we had multiple doctors? Because you're talking about one doctor.
We haven't had anyone here that was dealing specifically with substance abuse.
That's the problem in Scott County, in my opinion. We have not done enough about getting more than one doctor in here to help.
You're not wrong.
That one doctor is not going to be able to save every person.
So
Everybody's going to be different.
No, and we, certainly would be, enthusiastic about increasing that number. But at least we started and have that service available now, which we didn't have before the syringe service program.
And LifeSpring's just one provider. So Kathy, she's with Centerstone. Centerstone has been in the community for several years. They have a provider as well. I think Dr. Cook, you probably have a couple of providers that
We
do
have 9 providers now.
MAT.
And half of them are providing MAT services.
And MAT is the
And we have
medication.
psychology, the social worker part embedded into. Can I mention one thing real quick? You asked about addiction. Where does that come from and how is it cured? Most of the people that I work with from an addiction standpoint, they didn't choose to become addicted to a medicine, a pill, a drug. Some of them, they were started by their parents when they were children. I've worked with women who were basically injected by their father so they wouldn't fight back, so that their father and their friends could take advantage of her. That's how she got hooked on drugs. And then to go into adolescence and early adulthood, you can imagine what kind of toll that plays on somebody's sense of self. And you know, we all hate addiction. We all hate these drugs and what they do to people. They do too. And that hate seeps into who they are, and they hate themselves. Most of the people that I've worked with, they hate themselves, they loathe themselves, and they don't really care if they overdose or not. They don't care if they contract a disease or not. All they want is that despair, that overwhelming sense of dread, that hate, to just quiet for a little while. The only thing that overcomes that is love, honestly. We've had people tell us that the first time they've ever felt cared for in their entire life is when they walked into the clinic, or when they walked into the Syringe service program. And that's when they start caring about themselves, is when they feel cared for. When they start feeling cared for, they start caring for themselves. And it's only then that motivation starts rising in them. If somebody else cares about me, and I might not be this awful person I think I am, they start having that motivation to do something different. And that seed that's planted there can grow into the desire to change. Without that, they never stop hating themselves, and they'll die. Every single person, as you know, and you've seen, and I've seen in the emergency department and other places, they die. Without that seed, nothing changes. And that seed is planted by people who care about them. And sometimes the only place they ever get access to that is somewhere where they're just going to get some syringes. And without that seed of love that germinates inside of them, they'd never start caring about themselves enough to want to change. So that's what I would, respond to.
Mike, this gentleman here.
Well, thank you.
Hamilton. I'm basically what you call a drifter. I've been in service for 8 years. I'm a disabled veteran now. I shot twice. I didn't start out on opiates because I wanted to. I started out because I shot in the back of the head, so they prescribed me some very high opiates. And I didn't want to quit. And when I started drifting, I wound up in Scott County. Don't know why, but I just did. And with the homeless people, these girls were, in contact with us and having conversations with us and nudging us and talking about recovery. I didn't know nothing about recovery because I didn't have any hope. And that's what they've given me, is hope that there's a change. And they reached out to a lot of these places like you're talking about, like Veterans Court, for veterans, that's what me and Ricky went through. There's Life Springs, there's, Salvation Army, but you gotta have your mental health or you're never gonna get fixing, and I'm 21 months sober now, and just did 18-month program. You broke up my network because I talk to them on a daily basis about things, and I talk to my counselors, IOP 3 times a day. I got to dress my shit every day. I got PTSD so damn bad that it ain't funny. But without that mental health,
Well, it sounds like you went through Salvation Army, it didn't work.
Well, they didn't have mental health counselors there to, they kept you away from the activity, but the activity's waiting for them once they got out.
Yeah.
But they got to know how to change their life, and that's where mental health comes in at. If they got more of that with the treatment program, it works. It's working for me and Ricky, and
Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
You mind giving your name?
Clinton, Hamilton.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
Before
I don't know
we
who's
move on.
talking, you got a mask on.
It's so ironic because everything you say, I shake my head yes, because we're saying the same things, agreeing to the same things, but we're just seeing them differently. Like when we talk about the 1,500 undocumented overdoses, it's like, do you think Scott County first responders could respond to 1,500 more overdoses in a year? Like, what kind of burden would that put on our first responders and our taxpayers? Like, You know what I mean? Like that's.
I get what you're saying, but.
And the syringes are an incentive to come in and get, shop around and get other stuff, like you're exactly right. I think that's what's so scary is that would stop, and then we wouldn't be giving out the Narcan, we wouldn't be giving out resources for recovery, and all those other things. But what I really want to say was, whatever action you decide to take tonight, if you could please put some sort of timeline or date, whether that's approving it for 2 more years, approving it until, the next discussion in May of 2020, ending it, whatever, timeline that comes with that. If you do that, then I appreciate that for my part.
Well, like I said, again, I think handing the needle to somebody is one step in all your guys' programs. I mean, it's just one thing that you do out there that, and I guess it's all, I mean, I understand the part of clean needles and entice, you almost said that you're enticing someone to come in. I have a hard time with it. I know that I feel like I'm enabling someone to further hurt themselves.
And you've seen things that I will probably never see. And thank you for what you do, like you thanked us. Thank you for what you do as a first responder. But there's going to, it's not illegal to pass out a clean syringe, right? So
it's not now.
If it's not, it's right. So we could have all these other.
I say that in the sense that it's not about tonight. The state of Indiana had to pass a law to make it legal, so it was.
Right, yes, before the outbreak, the domino effect that happened with that one was the SSP law throughout the state. So it's not illegal for somebody else to come in and just give out syringes. It's that taking that dirty syringe and having possession of it. So then another fear that we have is like, okay, all these other big groups from Indianapolis, Chicago, Louisville, they're gonna flood here and be like, here, take clean needles so you don't get HIV and hepatitis C. We don't care what you do with the dirty one. So then that's on first responder.
Well, that happened once before because they were going to a church and a church parking lot. They weren't associated with the church, but they were going to a parking lot, stand out there and hand them out. When they left 3 or 4 boxes. Right. So I understand that. I understand that.
So that's what happens then when there's not a program for them to return to because it's illegal for them to do that.
I know
I would select it easier because I know that I didn't give them something to kill themselves.
Sure.
You mentioned, and I agree with, by the way, Purdue Pharma earlier, and it wasn't just Purdue, but however many drug manufacturers it was, I don't believe we'd be here tonight if it wasn't for Purdue flooding they, I think, purposely targeted areas of our country to flood Oxycontin and different things in, and we are in the process, you're right about that, of litigation, but it just amazes me, we're having to have this whole argument, and Purdue Pharma literally just gets off the hook by passing out money to the states, $750 billion, nobody goes to jail, hundreds of thousands of people died, probably one of the greatest mass deaths in the United States. And we're down here having to argue about the results from it, and all they're doing is paying us off.
And I'm gonna agree with you on one thing.
Yeah.
This has been going on since ancient Egypt.
Not Oxycontin.
No, opioids.
Yes.
That's where it came from.
Yeah.
So don't make something out of that and then say, oh, I didn't know that was gonna do that.
Well, I think Purdue Pharma, and I use them, but I am gonna make something out of it, because they purposely flooded our country with a drug they knew that people of the least resistance would use.
That's what I'm getting at. That's
And
what
so I think we're in agreement here.
Yeah, we are.
And we get left with the results. We got attorneys threatening us. We got our whole community in turmoil over it. And I don't understand the justice of this somehow or other where they just walk. And I'm just saying that. It really don't have a lot to what we're doing tonight outside of, I don't think we'd be here without this.
I do have a question for the state, and it may not be your jurisdiction, or you may not have the answer to it, but how does a county commissioner in southern Indiana find out or report or have the state do a report on this number of 252 prescriptions per 1,000 people in Scott County, and it's over 100, or actually it's less than 100, but it's 80 more prescriptions per the state average. How does someone as a local government find out through the state who's overprescribing, or they may not be overprescribing, but they're over the national or the state average? How do we go about finding out if they're truly prescribing drugs responsibly, I guess is the answer. I don't know who is going to answer the question.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm Pam Fontanes. I'm the Deputy Health Commissioner with the Indiana Department of Health. And if there are certainly concerns that you have about those numbers, how prescribers are prescribing, are above what they should or appropriately, we do have a prescription drug monitoring program called Inspect.
I know about that.
Yeah.
That's actually where Dr. Box got the number the other night. So, but getting the number from them it's a number, but it's not telling you who of the, I don't know how many doctors are in Scott County, but I mean, whoever's here, where is it showing, this one's doing it, this one's not, this one's overprescribing, this one's not. I mean, who regulates that in the state? Because it's obvious, we're over the state average, so why wouldn't somebody at the state level, knowing that we're in a predicament with opioid use drugs and had this big, epidemic with HIV, why would they not say, hey doctor, whatever, why are you doing this? Or can you give something different than, pain management, a little bit different than the same drug that's hooked people for years here, so.
So certainly, and we can definitely take this back and work with our partners at Professional Licensing Agency and our other state partners to find out more about that, and looking through that system and physicians in the area. So that is something we can definitely take back and do further research on to see, and that's the purpose of the program itself. It is monitored, and it's to make sure that providers, are prescribing appropriately. So that is something that we can take back and look at further.
Well, to me, that's part of the problem here, is that we got in this problem, and it seems like the only way to get out of it is quit overprescribing a narcotic or an opioid that is addictive as much as it is. And again, I ask people all the time when I see somebody about drug of choice right now, and I think the drug of choice in Scott County right now is meth again. So,
and so of course that's not being prescribed most of the time.
Yeah, you go to the hardware store and get it.
I can tell you that I never in my entire medical career prescribed one Opana. I've practiced for 34 years, never wrote a prescription for Opana.
I know, you wouldn't even give me a penicillin shot.
But obviously, patients were getting it here, but we saw at that time when Opana was the drug of choice, most of it was coming from outside of Scott County.
Yeah.
The prescriptions were coming from the Louisville area and outside of Scott County.
Okay.
But we are, I can tell you, as a member of the local medical staff here at Scott Memorial Hospital, we do meet periodically to discuss that topic. And again, to educate each other about, prescribing habits, and we have taken significant steps to try to reduce that.
I will say this, and this is my thought, not any of the other two commissioners, and whether they agree or they don't agree or whatever. Speaking with some recovery coaches and some newfounded friends, I would like to see Scott County or the Board of Commissioners here try to find a location that someone can use as the word was thrown out there, a rec room or someplace where people can go 24 hours a day and have somebody there that they can talk to if they're So, I mean, I would entertain, doing, you know, something like that in, you know, in the near future. Well, again, I don't think either one of these have ever heard me say that, but I mean, that's, that was my intention to bring that up tonight, is that, you know, if we're gonna take something away, possibly we can give something back, and maybe that'll be, to me, again, I don't think the needle is gonna save anybody. I think recovery saves people. Somebody getting in somebody's face and saying, hey, you know, I care about you, and you know, find that day that you step out of a different shell. So so in turn, John, you got anything else on this subject?
No, sir, I think we said it all. Time to move.
You got anything else? And I will say this, because I know this is a very emotional subject for a lot of people, me included. I mean, whatever the outcome of the vote we're going to take, or is not detrimental or meaning to be detrimental to any one person or any one group of people. You know, I'm going to continue to do what I do every day, and I'm going to try to help anybody that, you know, reaches out and says, hey, I need help. So so I guess with that, I'm going to entertain a motion, or I'm actually going to make the motion. I'm going to make a motion to end the needle exchange, to phase it out till a date that I guess we can agree on. But I had a date of, you know, September. But if somebody wants to change that or
I don't understand the motion.
I'm making a motion to end the needle exchange as it is right now, and to not to end it today, but to phase it out to a specified date. So, and that date I would prefer to be in this year. So,
I'm hearing right. I'm not trying to be difficult. It sounds like we're going to continue it till a date.
my motion is to, and I'll just say it. My motion is going to be to end the needle exchange on September the 1st. Now, if somebody wants to change the date or actually move the date, then I'll entertain that, but that's my motion.
I will second the motion to end it. As far as September, I think I would like to see us have something in place. Something. In the form of the rec center or something.
Well, let's do this then. If that's September's not, let's just say January 1.
Okay.
So you're amending your motion?
I'm amending my motion to make it, the phase out date being January 1, 2021. Yeah, 22.
I understand it, but I don't understand the purpose. Is the purpose so we can study it, or is the
No.
purpose so we can have something else in place?
I don't think the service needs to go tomorrow and go, tomorrow we're not doing it. So it's a phase out from, on that date, it won't exist anymore.
We're not gonna talk about in September re-upping the program.
I mean,
But I mean, it doesn't feel like that's the most.
At any time,
Yes.
just as I've been told for the last 5 years, anytime that a commissioner wants to bring it up and either vote it up or vote it down, that you can do that at any time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to understand, I'm not being difficult.
No,
I'm trying to understand
I
it.
get that.
I thought maybe we were trying to extend it so we could look at it some more, make some better decisions.
Well, I mean, if something happens between now and then, and, you know, because I'm gonna be with her, and I'm gonna make sure that she has, good numbers, because if something changes, you know, I'm not opposed to saying, hey, let's go back the other way. I don't have a problem with that, but back to the 157, drops to 21, drops to 8, drops to 7, drops to 1. I wanna see if that number changes, I you know, I'm not opposed to changing something back the other way. I'm not stuck in the mud to where, you know, if something we see is not working, then I'm not opposed to changing, so.
And for me, I would like to see something else put in place as far as mental health. And I do agree with Mike. I think there's something about, we need a rec center so somebody can help somebody 24/7. There's somebody around.
And that was a suggestion from one of the recovery people.
It was, stand up, Phil. Stand up, Phil.
Our new friend.
So first off, if you mind, I know you got a motion on the floor, so I apologize, Tammy. So, first off, I want it on the record that Mike said we're friends.
We are.
Friends. John, we're gonna work on our relationship.
Ain't gonna happen. We're friends.
I have a question, and you know, as the executive director of the Recovery Community Organization, these are my people. I'm not as close as what the girls are that see them every day, but these are my people as well. And so I think that's a great thing that you all are saying about the extension. I would ask, because I think we're talking about a rec center and a thing that Thrive can get involved in, is I don't think that's something that we can probably get out in just a few months. It's something that we need to figure some things out, because we're talking about some mental health. We can have those conversations about bringing other people in, providers. But would there be an issue, and I'm just throwing this out there, would there be an issue to take your cutoff date to when their expiration is of their grant cycle?
Well,
so that I believe is in May, so at least that would give us plenty of time, because my biggest fear is, as much as everybody else is that you guys are having this vote right now, but but as this community, we're having this vote without something in place.
Yes.
And so my fear is that as much as we're saying a date, we're putting stuff on it, if we already know the year ends in May, like, that gives us plenty of time to really work on something, because I've been a part of many startups, and there's a lot of tweaking and there's a lot of things that you don't know until you don't know. And until we really get something in place, that's what scares me the most about what we're gonna do. So I am all for working with you guys, and the recovery community wants to be involved and get something going. But I would implore you all, please, give us some time to get that going. Because right now, we don't have the funding, we don't have the space, we don't even have the program or curriculum. So I'll be honest with you, we don't have nothing. So if we're gonna build something, let's build it together. And let's get the recovery community, stakeholders involved, and let's build something and figure something out, because I think everybody had a great point, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming out and saying that. Thank you. One thing Jesse didn't tell you is he used the Syringe program, but he's now a recovery coach in this community giving back that works for Thrive. And I'm sorry, but that paid for another 2 years for the Syringe exchange, in my opinion. You know, just that one person was able to give back. You know, I understand you as someone that was also a first responder for many years. I understand the conversation, and I'm not going to tell you how many times I sat on my hands or bit my finger and wanted to say something, but I know you all give it some time. But please, if it's not going to be something that is going to affect the long run, like, give us some time to put these things in place, to have these conversations with people, to get people in, to make sure we can get funding for these type of things.
Okay, so let me address that. I'm gonna stick to the January 1, but here's the caveat. It can be pushed. So if we see that something can't be done or whatever, then we'll readdress the push date. So, but I need you to be moving.
Well, the first thing that's going to get me moving is if y'all start giving me money. So, I mean, ain't nothing talks better than money. We all know that. Okay, this is a Bible Belt community. We know food talks as well. But I'm just saying, if you give me some food and some money, I get that going. But yes, thank you. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think that's the biggest worry. And I can tell you, for the people that are in active addiction that are starting to reach out for help, is we know if we just shut the door on them, we're going to lose them. And as many times as we Narcan them, how bad would it be, no matter how many times we Narcan them, if we Narcan them and then gave up on them, right? And so, my thing is.
Well, I know your program, as you explained it to me, was that they don't have to come in your door. You seek them out.
Yes, we will.
So in point, that's some of the thing I was saying is that we need to come up with something different that is not, here's a needle, come talk to us and we'll give you something else, or we're gonna, get you in the door and talk about something else. Your program, as you told me, is totally different than that.
Completely, but I'll say this one more time, is, I love how you all, got these experts that came in and we asked questions to the Indiana State, like the experts that come in, is we don't offer medical services and we don't offer clinical services. We offer resources. Like, I'll be honest with you, my coaches, they give resources to the Syringe program.
Now you're wanting to team up with it. Medical.
I want to team up with the community. So yes, if we can get medical involved, but I mean, here's my thing about
well, we need to be working together and not working against each other.
That's my point, is I want to work together on something before we pull out something else.
Well,
that's my fear, is that if we have something, because we all see that, I mean, I told you all, I don't know if you all have heard this, but in the just 18 months since we've been in existence, as a paid services that we can handle for people, the Syringe program has referred over 471 people. They wouldn't have heard about this. They wouldn't have heard of these things if it wasn't for those girls. And so, like, that's a piece that's on everyone's mind that I can think of, is how do we pull them in, right? Because we got the carrot and the stick, right? But the carrot is really, like, in people that are in active addiction, and please speak if I'm wrong, there is no trust there. They trust no one. I mean, Dr. Cook even said they don't even trust their own family because of the culture of what they were brought up in. So, like, what the conversations that these girls start having and the relationships they start building is because they got something they want. And so, what do we come up with? And I would love, maybe we have a big town hall and we come up with all these great ideas. But my biggest thing is, no matter what you all decide to vote today, is that we put something in place before we remove something.
All right, I want to say real quick that I want to agree with Mike, and not that it can't be pushed, but I find that if you don't put dates on things, things don't move. It's just a human.
How does May 2022 sound?
It didn't sound good when it was 2 years ago.
So I'm going to agree to the motion, closing the program January, at this time, January 1st.
Well, I'm having trouble with this one. I suppose if we were saying, let's look at it till January, I could understand that. I don't understand we're closing it January, but at the same time, if something happens, we may change our mind.
No.
So if it's a motion to phase it out and close it, I'm gonna vote no.
Well, that's what the motion is.
Okay. I vote no.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
So,
Although I do appreciate the 6 months or whatever it is.
well, I don't want to end something without having, and I'm going to be honest, I think the biggest resource is the recovery part. I get that, but anyway, we talked it and beat it to that. So, all right, I'm going to actually close this part of the meeting, and if everybody that doesn't want to go straight to hear about the 911 or highway department. So, Tammy, can you stop that?
Mike. I vote no. What do you think?
Hey,
thank you all.
I appreciate it.
We are back on, gentlemen.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to reconvene this meeting. So I need a motion from someone.
Make a motion to reconvene.
I'll second
the meeting.
Yeah, since we didn't do it correctly earlier. So we've been advised that we need in the future, and hopefully we never have something like this, but we want to give those guys an opportunity to get out and start anew here. So All right, that was some time there. 911, Jeffrey?
Following that group.
Did you get that flag?
Oh, yeah, it's been flying around the whole meeting.
Okay, first I know on the agenda is the chair lease agreement. They would not send me a lease until we tell them if we want a 3 or a 5 year lease.
What was the better of the deal?
It's the same price, it's just a longer.
So at 5 years, we're still changing them out?
Yep. The lease, what it does is they come in once a year and replace the chairs with new or like new. All the cushions are replaced. They're responsible for all the maintenance, cleaning, which is, to me, a good deal.
I'm gonna ask you a question. The only reason the difference, I think, between a 3 and a 5 is if you're gonna be satisfied with the company, because if you're not, and you're kind of leery, then the 3 would be better than the 5. But if you're solid with the company, I'd say the 5 would, but at the end of 3, you can extend it again. So.
Yeah, they did send a couple of loaner chairs for us to try out for a week. And when he come back to get them that following Friday, my girls on day shift
didn't want to give them up.
Didn't want to get out of it.
What do you want, 3 or 5?
I would go with the 3.
My suggestion would be that.
Mike, or not Mike, but John asked last time when I brought it up, if at the end of that lease, if we own the chairs. No.
So it's a continuing swap out. It's like leasing a car.
Yeah.
It's not a lease to own, it's a lease.
It's not a lease to own, it's a lease. They did say that if we wanted to purchase, we wouldn't be able to purchase the chairs that we have, but they have others that we can purchase off of the lease program. So I guess it's possible. It just won't be the same chairs that we currently
lease.
Well,
what's the life expectancy of the chairs?
I think if we bought them outright, there's a 5-year warranty.
But they're, with the lease, with the plan we're talking about, it's every year they're replacing them?
Every year they come in, replace them, they get brand new cushion.
So you have this in your budget already?
I went to council and moved the money around into a contractual line item.
I'll entertain a motion to accept a 3-year.
I'll make a motion.
And I think I will too, but I'm just curious, is it more expensive for 3 years?
No, it's the same price. We're getting 4 chairs for the price of 1 chair if you bought it out.
Okay.
It's $400 a chair.
They'll give us new chairs for 3 years.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
3-year lease.
I'll make a motion for 3 years, yeah.
I mean, I will have to get that agreement and bring it to the next meeting for you to sign it.
That's fine.
I deal with warranties all the time, and I'll tell you, most of them ain't worth what they really
I don't get a warranty on anything.
But, I mean, as far as that goes, I just needed whether you guys wanted 3 or 5. So.
The motion's been made by Randy to make a 3-year lease for the chairs. John second, I'll make that unanimous. So, next.
Up next, when I took over, I wanted to do some changes, and I brought, currently we have the International Academy of Emergency Dispatch.
Is this what you've been training on, or doing the?
No. This is APCO is another group like NENA, the National Emergency. I would like to switch to their version of EMD. When I got the original quote, it was almost 45,000, and I've talked them down in the last week to 32, just under 33,000. And the good part of this is I made contact with the state 911 board, and they said, if that's what you want, order it and send us the invoice. We are paying absolutely nothing for this.
Well, that's a plus. Did we have that in writing?
Yeah, I can get it in writing. But
Just-
they told me to send the invoice directly to them and they'll pay for it.
So you're using Nina now and you're wanting to switch to APCO, is that what we're doing?
No, we're not switching Nina. What we have now is, you remember when you were sheriff, the medical card set through the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch. And if you look at your other page that I gave you, I've broke down, currently with the International Academies, our lease maintenance and support cost, for this, if we sign it again in July, it's gonna be a little over 5,000. And then it's another 5,000 the following year, and then it jumps up to 5,436 for the following 2 years.
That's what you have now.
That's what we have now. Recertification of our people is $55 per person to recertify. And that's not including, we have to send them sometimes out of state and pay mileage and hotel and
So on the
meals.
new one here, this APCO, so
On the new one, the yearly cost for maintenance is, we're saving almost $2,000 a year.
But this is a training program.
It is what we use to dispatch EMS.
Yeah.
It's a set of card questions that we have to ask.
Yeah.
And it's state mandated that every PSAP has to have a system like this.
How many programs have you looked at like this?
There's only 3.
There's only 3?
Yeah. And the other one is as basic gets.
Okay.
So this is top of the
The
line.
best?
This is, what this does with this in telecom, it comes with IBM Watson. And I can log in from home and see how the callers are reacting to my dispatchers when they're going through the questions. If the caller's getting calmer, if they're getting more hysterical. So it's got a lot more stuff and a lot better quality assurance in this program.
So on the agenda here, it says state software upgrade agreement, is that what this is?
The state's gonna pay for it.
Okay.
The
Well, I mean,
state
is that-
911
is that-
board.
Is this what's on the agenda?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. The
I
state
couldn't figure out whether to
911
vote on it or
board,
not. Yeah.
the state 911 board's gonna pay for it because they take all the surcharge money from every county in the state. Where we used to get that, now they collect it and they send us money twice a year. But a lot of agencies do not use that funding, so they are able to do stuff like this.
Okay.
I want to hear from hearing you right. You're saying this $32,820 is paid for by somebody else?
The state 911 board.
Okay.
There's no money coming out of the county budget at all.
I'll entertain a motion, if Randy makes a motion, John
Second.
seconds it, and I'll make that unanimous. So, do we have to sign a contract with them?
I will give you the original here. And there is a place back here for authorized signature.
And this is a one-time fee? Or
That
this-
is. There'll be a,
You wanna wait and see if we're gonna give it this in writing, we're gonna pick it up?
there'll be the only recurring fees is on the bottom of that first
This
page.
5,000 and 4,500?
Yeah.
Are you gonna make sure that the state's gonna give us in writing that?
No, I'm sure if they said that, I mean, otherwise you're not gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be, Tammy, I guess I need to ask questions. It's not to where, do you have to pay for it out of county funds? You're gonna send the
It's just
invoice to
gonna be in
them?
advance,
Okay.
basically.
I'm gonna order it and tell the company, and I've already talked to the girl that gave the quote for the program.
So
She
she
said-
knows the state's paying for it?
Yeah, and she
So they're
said,
gonna invoice them?
she said, when you call me back, tell me to put it in motion, you just tell me where to send the bill and I'll send it.
Okay.
Not that I don't believe everything you're telling me, I do. If they did not do that, what would that do to us? Would we be okay?
Do you have the money to pay for it?
I don't. That's why I called the state and they said, I talked to Teresa Russell at the Ed Router's office for the state 911 board. And she said, by all means, a lot of counties are switching from the current program that we have to this.
Well, since you've talked to them and the state says they're gonna pay for it, I guess, once the invoice comes, I mean, they're not gonna send the software until they're paid, are they? Is correct?
Probably, yep.
So,
Yeah,
we
you're right.
can always
That's true.
opt out
That's
and say, you know what, state reneged or
That's a good
whatever,
point.
and so, okay. Guess I'm asking for authorization to sign this, okay. What is today, anyway?
Takes a second.
There you go, what you got next?
Another thing that wasn't on the agenda, but
We can't do anything with that.
just heads up, the hazard mitigation thing is due. It'll be due this year. And the same company that did it the last time is wanting to do it again. And there's a packet, tells all about the grant that's gonna pay for it, blah, blah, blah. The state's already set aside money for our county to pay for that.
Hang on a second.
Oh, you did, okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But we had to have a mitigation plan. And the
So
state's
this
already.
is renewing it?
Well, they'll have to come in and redo the plan. They have to redo it every 5 years, I think. But the state's already set aside money in a grant to pay for it. I just have to have your permission for this company to redo it. And
Can we do that without being on the agenda?
Can you explain that to him again, because he was disruptive?
every county has to have a mitigation plan,
You would need to
and they're good for, I think, 5
make a
years.
motion to agenda.
Well, ours is
Amend the agenda that
Ours is up
usually requires unanimous.
December of this year. So this company is wanting to work with us again to redo the plan. And the money's already out there to pay for it in a grant that state has set aside.
Okay, okay.
And I know it wasn't on the agenda, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Okay.
You don't need it right now, do you? But
No.
can we vote on this for 2
Yeah,
weeks?
I mean, our plan is good until December,
So we can put it on the agenda next
so
week.
we can do it next week
Well, we'll do that.
or next time.
I'll give you an opportunity if
Yeah.
he wants to
He's
look it over.
explaining to me how we can do this. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he needs to look over it anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And the only other thing I got is, that is what you requested.
Is this a complete system?
That is everything but the radio system. The radio company is supposed to come in. Their main, honcho wants to come in and talk to me because I questioned about, why our system is not.
Why we got a radio for every channel?
Yeah. Well, that's normal, but
I don't get that.
I question why our system is not as good as Washington County.
Also, so in this proposal, was there any kind of repeaters or anything, extra repeaters compared to what we have right now?
No.
Okay.
That is,
Can you get that as what, this is the consoles,
that's everything in dispatch. From file cabinet
besides the radio?
to the TVs, to all the hardware. There's nothing software in there. It's just everything to replace everything physical.
Can you get can you get a price on the hardware or software?
Yeah, like that one I just showed you.
Yeah, so that would be part of that as well. I'd like to see, and I asked Jeff to get a price on, making everything new over there, which means new consoles, new TVs, actually, if you'll see it there, it's the whole desk, chairs, which the chairs won't be there because we're buying new, but.
That's the rendering that Watson gave me for 4 new consoles. pretty pricey, 64,000 for 4 of them.
And I will say this, and this price is 127,856.15.
Not including the radio.
Not including the radios, but I do want you to get a price on, you know, software, and I want you to get a price on, another repeater. So, and I know those are roughly 25,000 or whatever.
I can tell you a repeater is gonna be just under 18,000 for a single channel repeater.
Well, we need to get better communication, and there's parts of this county that you can't get a radio out to anybody, so.
The way they explained it to me when I asked, and that's why their main guys coming in to talk to me. What they suggested when they went to this system was to put a tower, 300 or 500 foot tower on the north end of the county and on the south end, and they're connected. And he said you would have no radio issues at all.
Well, I want a price on that too, because.
That's why he's coming in. He's gonna give me a price on that.
You're talking about EOC or?
ECS.
ECS, yeah.
That's why I don't have it yet, because
How much was the furniture?
the consoles that are quoted there for 4 of them are gonna be 64,000. But that is the Cadillac, basically. I mean, they raise and lower.
Talking about the consoles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the operator can stand if they want to, while they're.
They can stand, sit, adjust it to their comfort levels.
Well, I mean, just to clarify here and show the history, I know John and Lisa was there when the 911 system came in. We're still technically running off that same type of stuff, aren't we?
Same concept.
The consoles are over 20 years old over there.
That's what I'm getting at.
I can tell you, going through this for you, getting these numbers, our radio system is not firewall protected.
Ooh.
We are at risk if somebody wanted to hack into our radio system and take it out.
I need to get with Andrew and find out.
We're open. And they were offered that service, and it was turned down at the time.
All right.
Our phone system is 8 years overdue for hardware upgrade.
I'm gonna get with Andrew and have him get with you, find out what he needs to do to protect your stuff over there too.
He's got a firewall that will protect it to a certain point, but the company really wants to come in and put a firewall in.
We'll get a price on
I
that.
can remember.
They're going to.
Greg, he had some kind of firewall system in there, but it's not effective is what you're saying.
Well, the radio system never was put on a firewall from the radio company. They, for whatever reason, opted not to do that.
It's not like you're in desperate need of an update.
We are.
It's
Like I said,
definitely, and
our phone system is 8. When I talk to them to get their quote, they're like, you know, you've not been upgraded in 8 years. And I'm like, no.
well, we used to be the state of the art when you guys first started that. Everybody looked at our system to do their own systems, and now we've never updated it. And I knew it was going to be a big ticket item to do that. But
We did it, Louisville had him had it operating.
But we need to update our system and be.
I mean, really, that is a lot less than I expected myself.
Actually did too, because I got a quote from Greg before he left, and it was, his quote was in the 250, 270 range, but it also might have been with the radios, so.
Yeah. We'll have to see what the radios add to that, but I thought that was kind of low too.
I did too.
And
I'll show it to John.
And there's a lot of stuff we can't even get prices on that's been discontinued as far as equipment goes.
All right,
So,
we'll do something weird out there. At $64,000, could we look at maybe having them built by somebody, stainless steel? Because I think we could probably come in cheaper, and I believe it would probably last a lifetime.
I mean, there's other companies out there, and we can buy used. We can even buy used consoles.
Well, I mean,
That was brand new. I mean, I do have prices for used, I just wanted to go high.
But that's the Cadillac of,
This is
Yeah.
one program I think we need to get the best.
that's a,
And
I
I'm
agree with
with you
that.
for this, if we can do it as cheap as possible, we should.
But I think that we could probably make them out of stainless steel, and that way they could be cleaned.
Yeah,
very
whatever
thoroughly.
works, just one of those. Yeah, whatever would work.
so but what you're saying is that's a Cadillac of the consoles, and so there isn't anything above that, so we can go that or less, and, okay.
Yeah, we can go
We'll get
less,
to-
we can get used ones, but
I'm not about getting used
And I do like the idea that you're looking at the ones that elevate, because I think that, you know, that could potentially help save us some type of workman's comp sometime or another.
and I've got a guy, my supervisor on third shift, he'll set, and then some days he's standing for 6 of the 8 hours.
I think it's important to be able to do that.
You know, it's just however they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Just get prices on the radios, which you are, and everything that is new over there. And if it has we need to talk about the firewall, we need to get a price on that too, but I'll get with Andrew too.
The radio guys including that.
Okay, all right,
And,
we'll get that back to us.
And they're also including putting the 2 new towers up. And
That's what I want.
so
That's what we want.
we're working on it.
And I'm not saying no to that, I'm just saying I would like to see something, maybe that's stainless. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I know it lasts a lifetime. And at 64,000, I don't want to keep
And I'm not
repeating that.
And I'm not the type of person to come in here and I want to spend buku's money.
I know that. I
try to look out, you know, like I would my own budget at home.
Well, I think Randy's got a good point.
You
If we
paired
can
it.
do something better and cheaper, we ought to go at it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we gotta make sure I don't wanna cut costs and then something happen later and go, oh Lord.
Yeah.
You know, we could have saved a
Well,
lot.
we just need to upgrade the whole thing
Yep.
over there. It's been long overdue, and we
Figure
just
out
need to get a price and then figure out how to pay for it, so.
everything like that.
We got
I just
a
think
quote
it
on
says
the
never have
new,
to purchase anything like that again.
Yeah.
Well, I wish, you're right, I wish.
we got a new quote on the new CAD system. I sent it back to them to trim some stuff out that we don't need. They're supposed to have that to me by the end of this week. The other CAD company I've waited 5 weeks on is coming in next Wednesday with their quote. The state 911 board will pay for everything that my center uses. As long as, the only thing they won't pay for is jail and record management. But anything that 911 uses, they will totally cover.
That's good.
And right now, we're looking at a little over $500,000 for a CAD system.
And the state will pay that.
The state will pay for the majority of what we use. The sheriff would be responsible for the jail, and the way I'm approaching it is each Austin, Scottsburg, and the county split the cost for the record management, because everybody's gonna use it.
Okay.
And even EMS.
You're gonna bring that price too?
I'll bring that to you when I get it all
Okay.
figured out.
Sounds good.
Last thing I'll tell you is me and Will went to Plainfield a couple weeks ago, completed the center management certification through Nina. 40-hour, really intense class, teaches you how to manage.
That one I called you?
Yeah. Yeah. Teach you how to manage the 911 center, from budget to scheduling, the whole 9 yards. So we got that.
Good
completed.
information.
Yeah, we got that completed, and
How you doing man-wise, or manpower-wise over there?
I had one that resigned full-time, wanted to go back part-time, so, which is what it is. I've offered somebody that position. As you know, trying to hire people. I've had 2 processes this year, and I've had like 6 or 8 applicants in both of them together. People just not wanting to work.
That's gonna change here for a while.
Yeah, I had 2 from other counties, that wanted to come up here full-time, but, I mean, one of them makes more than I do an hour,
Is
so,
Linda still with us?
yeah,
I've been hearing talk they might be moving to DC,
good chance,
so I mean, we'll have to.
yeah. We'll probably have to replace her before, by the end of the
You're
year.
working already, or at least.
Yeah, I think Ray's got his mind set up, he's going. He himself told me that she wouldn't go immediately, but
Yeah.
within a couple months.
That's what I thought.
So there's a good chance we'll be replacing her probably next year.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Anything else you need from me?
Nope.
You're doing a fine job.
Appreciate it.
All right.
My head's gonna get all swollen up.
Yeah, it is. That's why he shaves it, so he can expand.
My head don't get swollen.
Thank you,
I'm
Jeff.
always available to answer phone calls, just ask Mark.
I'll
Yeah,
call you.
I woke you up.
Midnight, 3 in the morning.
Thank you,
No,
Jeff.
no, we're calling you now.
Mr.
You're the one
Hall.
gonna get fired. Give me your home number, that's the first thing. I ain't got that yet.
Just don't get it, Mike.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And sorry that I haven't been down to see you at your new job yet, so maybe after this today and prep for everything that happened today, maybe I can get down before the end of the week, so.
Sounds good. So, for date,
I want to call and tell you, glad you came on board and everything, but I didn't get an answer.
you call me?
No, I tried to call the county highway garage.
Oh, County Highway Garage, okay. We've been moving.
You gotta figure out how to answer this stuff. Well, that was called the previous. It wasn't me, I'd known that.
Ask Kevin, who called you on your first day, Kevin?
You did.
Yes,
He done passed the Tammy test, he was good.
Yep, she sure did.
And thank you for making that call for me.
Oh, well, yeah, sure, Randy.
Well, like I said, I didn't want to throw you in the mix going down there, but I know some of the crews had actually saw you out of Blotcher, out of Caldwell's a couple weeks ago, and they were like, I think we ran into him. He was out there with some state guys. I go,
Yeah, I think I was spied out pretty good.
I said, that's him. So anyway, what do you got?
So, anyway, on day 2, I did get opportunity to go up to crew bosses today, and we run all the community crossing roads just to see where they're at. So, it being June, we're probably in 911 phase of all the prep work that needs to be done to get those done by the time we run out of paving weather. Looks like they've been putting a lot of culverts in, which was good. I talked to them about, the caps. We're gonna go back and try to get binder and all those hose and get them up and sturdy those up before we pave over top of them. I believe that needs to be done. A few of these roads, I want to say Weir and Webster off the top of my head. It was one of the W roads, I remember. It's got a lot of wheel ruts and pretty bad shape. So, I talked to them guys about building composite crews today, so they're going to attack that. They're going to, we got a little bit of equipment problem as far as not having what we need. I do want to look into maybe, at least right now, renting a small roller. Something they can drop down the culverts, get compaction quickly, something they can go out and get their wheel ruts fixed real quick. One of the small ones we got did catch on fire, which I know that's in process with the insurance company and stuff. And probably a compactor. So they're missing a couple tools to be able to do it right. I think it's something we could rent at least, for now.
And then look to purchase something.
And then look to purchase something. But if we're going to make a good stride to get where we're at, that's probably what we need to do. So yeah, month of June, it was mowing, deep patching, capping culverts, and clipping shoulders. I believe we had roughly kind of 19 culverts to put in. So It's,
Yeah, I know
we're gonna get
that,
to
Mowing.
I know your crew's been,
You guys are out doing it, so I'm.
Yeah, they're out mowing. Of course, they had a flat tire, so that'll be back up tomorrow, should be.
I've been getting chewed on for 2 weeks.
I've got a few calls on that one.
I got a question though,
Yeah.
but, and I know we've done this in the past, about hiring summer help just to mow.
Yeah.
Are you,
They're not down there, and I was gonna ask that question.
Well, we're getting ready to hire somebody.
Okay.
I mean, there's a job opening.
I didn't know this.
Well, Tyler quit.
Tyler
Peterson quit.
I didn't know he did.
He's in Austin now. So I mean, that's an opening. I don't know if we can, the guys tell me at one time we had somebody told us to do with mow all summer.
Well,
Was it last year they had 2 guys?
we didn't mow any, we didn't bring on summer help last year for the fact that because of COVID
Yeah.
and the sale and the fuel tax, we didn't know how much money we were gonna have, so they didn't bring those people in. But what, the year prior, I think Dwayne, Lord, which used to work for the state, he would come in, we'd hire him through the summer, he'd come in and mow, whether he wants to do that or somebody else wants to
I
do
know a
that.
guy who wants to do it, but we need somebody
No.
on top of the mowing.
I don't have a problem with, if we, as long as, I think we had the budget before to do that.
Yes, and that's where Kevin and I, he, of course, him just getting.
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. If we could get 1 or 2 guys just dedicated to that and free those guys up, it'd be great.
That needs to be a decision made too, but if there's a way that Teresa and you, me, whoever can come take a look at your, and
We'll work on that
Lori, you,
tomorrow.
whomever, come work with Teresa, because it might need council to move some money around.
Okay.
Once they figure out how you're doing, if you're able, if you know, there's some things that's not being spent on that we can, you know,
Move
move some
around.
things around.
Well, we
So-
have in the past
but
hired
there has
part-time
been.
summer mowing crew.
Yeah,
And it's
that-
usually 2 or 3 people, and we've tried some kids,
Yeah.
sometimes that didn't work out too well,
Yeah,
so.
we're a little short in your lease.
I think half the
purchase line.
time they tear the mowers up and then mowers are being worked on constantly.
Yeah. So,
But mowing's a big deal.
For sure, yeah, it's a need.
that's
You know,
what
we use
Tammy's
that
gonna
word.
look at, her and Teresa.
I'm sorry, I've got an ear infection, I'm not
That's
here.
okay.
Peter,
And I don't carry my
but,
books, I don't carry.
are we gonna advertise for Tyler's job here pretty soon?
Well, that's something that I think you and I may have even talked about. I know it's on my list of things because I don't know when his last day was. So,
I
again,
didn't even know he was leaving.
I think it was right before I started
I
on
think
Tuesday, so I think it might have been that Friday, from my
that Friday,
understanding.
so
From
we need
the,
to figure out, because I think we talked about like advertisement real quickly, because you and I didn't get to talk for very long.
Yeah.
About when you want to run the ad, or if you want it, or if you know, we, about the minimum, we have to post it for 5 days. If not, we need to advertise it, and depends on if your search is closer or
Right.
range out. So get with me and we'll work
More on
on
that
it.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'd take, just to replace Tyler, what, 2 or 3 weeks?
No, we could have him replace, if there's a good candidate and applicants that come in, we could have him replaced in a week. If you get the
We have to do the
candidates.
advertising, don't we?
Minimum posting is 5 days
But I
on the
mean,
bulletin
we
board.
do that in local.
If you've got, if there's let's say it's a department that's part-time and there's somebody who wants to go full-time like Jeff gets sometimes. In 5 days, we can have somebody full-time.
So you think we can advertise it?
So,
locally?
but we
Okay.
could advertise Friday for next Wednesday in the paper.
Well, that's just some
Run
quick
that,
help.
but,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
but if there's somebody that is ready to come on board, we can post it for 5 days and take their app and whoever else happens to apply, and you can hire them whenever they're ready to come to work.
Okay.
Okay, minimum 5 days.
But you got them mowing, that's good.
Yeah, they're mowing.
I
And,
got a call today, lady. Thanks.
yeah, and you know, day 2 here, but just outside looking at the mowing and talking to the road bosses and stuff, you know, we're mowing with brush cutters.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get to mowing with bat wings, I mean, you're quadruple the production in a day, or if not more. So that might be something really kind of geared towards. I mean, that's not a real expensive
How you got-
upgrade.
I don't know how old them mowers are, you guys know?
No.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know everything down there needs to be revamped, or we need to bite the bullet and purchase some new stuff, so.
Well, we got one truck that's not, it's pretty new, it's not,
Is it? I don't
and
know.
it's a brush cutter.
So you're talking about bat wings.
yeah, possibly a bat wing, probably a bat wing.
Behind that John Deere, right?
Yeah, the side, I haven't seen the John Deere, the side mower is in the shop.
Okay.
It has, to my understanding, it has a military kind of homemade outfit maybe that, and that's where they're having problems finding parts with it. But it is getting worked on. They're having issues with it.
Yeah.
But maybe, you know, we could possibly give up a brush cutter, or take a brush cutter off and put a bat wing behind one of those tractors. I mean, it's just gonna.
Brush cutter doesn't mow us.
Well, it's just 4 foot wide,
Yeah.
and it's hard for the operator. I mean, he
Yeah.
has to watch a lot of things with that out there, you know. About when he can look forward and
Yeah.
make sure he ain't hitting nothing and go, you know. He can really cover some ground. Well, we'll have to run up down the highways, you know.
Yeah. So,
Just
anything
be
else?
With our ditch lines, with our ditch lines being, quite a bit different than the state.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
will be an issue.
Yeah. We'd have to look at maybe see what would work best. I'm not talking about a trifold 15-footer. The only good thing about maybe a batwing is you keep part of it up on the road for weight and the other part down there to mow. So you actually may only be sticking it out mowing a few feet, but the rest of it's counterbalance, I guess.
Yeah.
So our mowers aren't operating yet. the mowers themselves. So how long will it be before we get them working?
Yeah, they're running. Two of them.
They are up and going?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're mowing with 2 right now. Okay. Yeah, 2's moving right now. They're gonna move every day, so.
We just sent 2 of them out.
Yeah.
And that John Deere, one of them was, it was having some computer problems, and they fixed that, but then it started having other problems. So, I think it's back in the shop, correct? Ain't that what?
I think so, yeah, I think we're talking about the same.
Yeah.
They got the Massey and the Challenger.
Yeah.
The Challenger's the one that had the tire down, which it'll be back
Has
on.
anybody got with you on mowing the park, or, paving the parking lot over here?
No, I haven't heard that.
Okay, we gotta move on that pretty quick, don't we? Or-
I don't know when the city's ready, but when we start paving, there's three parking lots that we're paving for the city.
We
Okay.
have an agreement with the city to pave that and move county employees parking over there.
Okay,
And stripe it too. We have the striping machine
We
to
got
do that, I
stripe.
think, so, we haven't used it much.
I don't think we use it.
Well, anyway, that's.
I seen it down there.
Actually, I suppose you ought to get hold of the mayor, because they own the lot, and we got an agreement with them.
Yeah, I had a conversation with the mayor a couple of weeks ago, and Jason was actually there too, so we were trying to see who's gonna do the site work over here. Because, we need to make, and Jason said he'd work with us, with his guys, so, you know Jason. don't you?
yeah, I know of him, yeah, there he is.
But anyway, he was like, yeah, get with us and we'll work it out. The other 2 places are actually the 2 fire departments. Fire department out by the Walmart, and actually the one here by the railroad tracks, so.
That's basically labor and equipment.
It's just labor and equipment for us. They're paying for the product, the material, so.
But that's kind of
I think that's kind
of a big deal over here to get that done.
I haven't
You
heard
agree?
one.
Well, I haven't either.
Well, we actually hadn't even signed an MOU with them,
There's
right?
an interlocal agreement in
Interlocal?
place for that.
Okay.
You need to copy it.
We just need to get it where we can sign it so we can move on.
It's already
Yeah, well, I
signed.
think-
Council and you guys approved it.
Okay.
You just need to be aware of it, because they're gonna close the alleyway out, and I don't know if anybody's ever actually looked to figure out how many cars we can get. We've all talked about it, but I don't know if
Right.
anybody's actually figured out exactly how to do it. So it's the city's parking lot, but they're letting us use it,
Okay,
and we're doing the paving.
And then he's going to.
So I get called all the time, huh?
We also need to look at, make sure that, because I looked at that parking lot, and water would start running toward that building.
That's
and
what I-
underneath that building.
That's what I
So we're
was.
gonna have to put something up to to divert the water from going underneath that.
That's where I got with Jason, because that was my concern, that the building to the south is, there's vent holes or crawl space holes underneath it. And if we go in there and put paving up, if we don't, lay the paving the right way, we're gonna run water in that building. And I told the mayor that too, and I told Jason that, so that's why I want them involved in the site work, so that, when they're prepping it, it's prepping to where it's gonna flow to the center and not into the buildings, so.
right. I'll get with Jason on that, we'll check it out, what the grade looks like, see how much work needs to be done to get that right.
Yep.
And of course, the goal is to get as many parking spaces as we can.
Well, he wants the county employees off the square.
Yeah, well, I think we all kinda wanna move them
I do.
over there. Yeah, I do too. But we haven't really
After we
decided.
closed all the other doors, they all park over here anyway.
Absolutely, well, that's true, and our businesses over there have trouble, and,
Oh.
that's the whole goal of the thing, is to clear it out for the businesses.
Yep,
And,
I agree. So get with Jason if you would, and I'll talk to him again about it, but, it's, I know it's probably, I don't know if it's gonna be easier to pave that parking lot versus a road, or when you're ready to pave roads, then I'd be paving roads, so.
Yeah.
The, ditch line, just north of the lot there, that's ours.
Okay.
And it's like 6 foot tall.
Okay.
So I don't know, I actually talked to the sheriff's, the guy who does the mowing, and he said they would trim that all out for you and spray it, or you guys could spray it and kill it all for how we want to do it. But,
Okay.
I mean, you must want to get with, I don't know, it's Combs, and it's the boy that old guards the inmates.
I have no
I think, anyway, whoever, sheriff can help you with that.
I'll track him down.
They'll mow, I mowed it last week for you, we own all the way over to that building.
Okay.
And, of course, the military, the guard will call me every now and then and complain.
Actually, we had more
But the
property than we
ditch
thought we
itself-
had.
Huh?
I think we ended up with more property than we thought we had.
Yeah, well, they think there might be on our property in some places, but that ditch is getting pretty rough.
Okay. All right, we'll check that out.
So we have some things we have to do. And,
We promise we'll get down and talk to you though.
Sounds good.
I did have one question though.
Yeah.
Can you fit in that Colorado?
You know, that's a great question.
Cause I saw you go through town the other day and you ran one of the big
Well, the
trucks.
Colorado is in, I believe, Virginia right now,
Yeah.
getting whatever that they're getting. So, I told the guy, listen, I want to check out your Colorado.
Cause I
Man,
was like,
we might do some trading.
somebody goes, I don't know if he'll fit in that Colorado.
Yeah. I was like, I've never looked at the Colorado. So,
we're only here 2 days, and I'm hearing nothing but good from,
Well, thank you.
and it's, a lot of it just from employees.
yeah, well, we're
That's a
gonna,
big boost.
we got a lot of work to do. I think your road bosses is gonna be really good. It seems like a great group of guys. All the employees do. Had a better opportunity today with them, you know. They're on the right page. We just gotta pull it all together.
On the mowing thing, I get a lot of complaints on the Johnson grass.
Yeah, I know, it's
And,
bad.
I've been chewed out more than once because we mowed it. And that, I don't know much about that stuff, apparently spreads out into the fields and
It
causes
does.
damage to the crops.
Yeah,
And, so, I don't, who knows, that's what I'm told.
yeah.
And,
I'd heard before on the state side of it where they'd even thought about offering farmers like tax incentives if they would spray their own
Yeah.
field sides to get rid of it and
yeah,
such.
be happy to, yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem. I mean,
Ours does a good, our farmers do a good job of spraying. I mean, so you probably
Yeah.
have areas that's worse than others.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I will give you kudos. I talked to my road boss and he's like, he's doing a good job and asking the right questions and quite honestly, being a new person walking into a play, that's why I hated one of us not to be there when we walked in the door Tuesday, but,
I went in and seen him, but he was busy all day. Really, he was busy all day.
Yeah, we stay busy last 2
I'll bother him
days.
later.
but getting the buy-in from those guys, and I'll back up and give kudos to all 3 road bosses and all the employees because Jill left on January the 18th, and you guys haven't missed a beat down there. And I think there was a bump in the road a couple of times, but most of the time they worked it out by themselves. And
Everybody was happy.
no, they weren't. But anyway, I appreciate your work. I appreciate you being on board, and we'll just if you have a problem, come call one of us.
Sounds good. Yeah, we got a lot to do, so we're gonna keep plugging away at it.
Okay.
2 things real quick. Something I heard that sounded pretty good to me and made a lot of sense, and not by any means do I want you to make a decision right now or nothing.
Okay.
But the guys mentioned to me, a couple of them, that they think it would be better to get rid of the floater position and just put 4 men to a crew, which that would mean we'd have to hire somebody, I think. But
Yeah, we had a little garage discussion about that there, where at the end of the day, where it would put forward, but it did end up having to hire an extra position that's not there right now, so.
Yeah.
You know, I know that
So
puts
I don't know
a
how
whole
that
different,
would work, but, but give us some thought on whether or not you think that, you know, we should get rid of the floater positions. And I mean, even like if you got rid of the floater position, we might be something like, be around the lines of, this week you're gonna work with District 3, this week you're gonna work with District 2, 1, whatever. But,
right. And I told the guys, I said, and that's a little bit what we tried to do today was build the composite crew, which means, you know, Denver was going to take what guys was necessary to go out and bust the culverts out. And they were going to do that every day.
Yeah.
You know, and the rest of them's going to go do the deep patching, and they're going to do that every day, and then share labor back and forth, because it is hard when you get that one man out type situation, and you can't really get it all done without extra. So I mean, I think those guys are going to work together great. I didn't see. I mean, I've walked in with several crews before that. There was not nearly as smooth as what that was. So
good.
I think you got a good base.
That's a tribute to those guys, because like I said, they're good at what they do, and we're small, but I think they do a heck of a job. So
yeah, I think
good base is, and this is going to include Zach, but we talked about earlier this year, we want to include some of the subdivisions. So do you know some people that actually does chip sealing?
He does.
Yeah, like you mean county-wise or state?
Yeah, that'll do county, like a subdivision would come in, because I mean, the subdivisions we're talking about, and I don't know if you've been in like Green Acres and what else would we have, Green Acres and Jeffrey and what?
Oh,
John, didn't you have one?
Keyway. And,
Keyway we can't do.
Yeah.
What we out here at, what's that start with the M out there on? They came in the meeting. They came into our meeting.
How it's deeded.
Anyways, there's no road base there at all. So in my mind, you would put rock and chip seal it to start building a base.
I'm with you. I kind of know what you're saying, not necessarily chip seal. It's more old rock type situation. You know, just give me an area you want me to look at. I'll take a look at it, and I do have some resources, and we'll see what we think the good options are.
But what's the equipment cost to do that?
The actual chip seal, Well, yeah, that's almost like, let's just say Jefferson County, you know, they got basic chip seal equipment. I mean, they got some old tire rollers, and they got like an 8 foot where you had to take 2 pass chip seal equipment. I'd say that equipment could be bought fairly cheap. I couldn't give you a number because I don't know. I ain't never priced.
Well, look into it and see what it is.
But that equipment, like they're running at that county, I'd say pretty cheap. And my goal is to get a hold of those guys. I know some of those guys and go out and just check them out when they're working and see what they're working with. Because if it's working for them, then maybe it'd work for us. That's probably the best step. Be step number one.
Yeah.
You know, on that.
Well, Harrison County does it too. I was down there and went through their shop and spoke to their engineer down there, and he was happy that we do a lot of chip sealing down here. So they got a lot of roads too.
Yeah.
But I know, I think even talking to you, I think it's $10,000 a mile, I think, to chip seal, maybe that's what he told me.
Yeah,
what it is. So, and it's $55,000 a mile to blacktop it. So
it's definitely cheaper. There ain't no doubt about that.
That people don't like it.
No, it's not loved by the public.
But it's better. But it's better. It's better than having a bunch of patches.
Yeah, better than having nothing.
Yeah.
And it's building back up to where we can, when years down the road we can pave it.
For actual chip seal, to be good, you got to get the road before the road goes bad.
Yep.
Now, some of these roads out here that we got right now that we're going to pay, they're way beyond chip seal.
Oh yeah.
They'll just be. I mean, you could chip seal them and decorate them up, I guess, but that'd be all you're doing.
Yep.
You got to catch them before they go bad.
You're just new on this. You may already have some experience on, but we got to look at the community crossing in the future grants. River Hills is really doing it for us. but it would be a real good idea to hook up with her and make sure. But one thing we don't wanna miss out that grant.
Okay,
We
give me,
get $1 million grants there.
Melissa Woods with River Hills.
okay,
Tammy's got her number.
okay, we got a lot to talk about tomorrow.
We jump.
She's doing our grants for us,
Okay.
and you may be able to learn to do it yourself. Actually, I think we'd be thrilled that you could.
Okay,
But I don't think they're even charging us, are they? She was very.
Right now, the River Hills has a contract with the state of Indiana Department of Transportation to actually do the grant for other counties, and she goes, we can do your grant, I mean, so it'd just be tied in and the state's paying them, so.
Well, I think that's a huge deal.
okay.
We don't wanna miss a huge.
Oh, I agree, I mean.
Well, we couldn't get in the last cycle because
Yeah, we're good.
we got money this time before, so you have to skip every other cycle, so.
Yeah, we're good, but I mean.
Okay, so for the 2022 summer, you do not have
that-
anything scheduled
we've
for
got-
paving?
Well, we've got
or-
from last year for
There's a
this
second,
Right, so.
the second one this year, we can get in again.
Okay, but it
They
still
do.
wouldn't be good for
You still get
the
it
summer
once
of
a year.
2022. You do still get it once
Yeah,
a
you
year.
get one, so it'll be, whatever you get this year will be for 22. I think that's right. Aaron.
I think Lori told me she closed the 2019 community crossings out, so that made us
2020.
eligible for, well, which is part of, you know, sometimes it's a couple of years, you don't even close the grant out. And then we're working on a 2020 that's open, and then the 21 we couldn't apply for because we had received at the time.
We haven't closed it out.
So
They've got to pay yet.
these roads that's on the community crossing for this year, the ones that we're gonna do this summer. How did you went about picking those out? It was
We
just
didn't. The road bosses.
the road, okay, that's the question.
Jill basically took them out.
Okay.
But each one has, there's so many in each district.
I mean, they all need it done, obviously, but
Well, no,
so each district.
They were actually graded, I guess, and, cause there's times when I have to explain to some people why their road didn't get paved and this other one did, because as you know, that road deteriorates so much, then you can't pave it. You
Yeah.
know, it's lost. So they tried to continue to go to roads that fall into that category first before they start over, so.
Okay.
They try to be fair to each district.
Sure.
They do,
Sure.
and I think it probably is.
It is pretty much, I mean.
And,
Okay, well, that's good to know, because I think the one change that needs to be done is if you know you're gonna be paving Webster Road or whatever, that work, the prep work needs to be done like the year before.
Yep.
And so you're working almost a year ahead of time, instead of like, now we're working, we gotta try to get this done in 30, 45 days. Basically, we're just gonna get what we can.
Yep.
We have one small road, we talked about this last meeting, Pigeon Roost. I don't know if you've been out there or not, but the entrance to it is really bad.
Okay.
And
Been a while, yeah.
I think all three of us agree, however we gotta do it, we'd like to get that paved. They're gonna have like a rededication in September.
Okay.
I think we'd all like to have that cleaned up before.
What it is that every district used to get 1.5 miles or something,
Yeah.
you know, beyond the community crossing grant.
Okay.
And, we talked about taking some of ours and our money for those projects and kind of doing this, so.
However we gotta do it.
So I'll get that scheduled. Yeah, I was talking to the road boss today. We're gonna do some cross training on the paver. One of those roads would be an awesome opportunity to do
Good
that.
road to practice on.
Yeah.
I always say not practice. These guys are pretty good. I mean.
Yeah, well, we was talking like some guys went on vacation and it shut them down, so
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna try to end that process, so we have somebody
Appears like it's
ready.
improved tremendously when they got that new paver that doesn't do a half a road.
Yeah, Bob got all his
Sure,
done
it's
with the new paver.
It's a nice paver. It's nice.
Yeah, we complained. Sorry about your luck.
He worked that out. All right, is it?
That's it.
I'll yell at you, I'll be down there.
Here's my phone number.
Okay,
Two
all right.
subdivisions I was talking about.
Okay.
I'll give you my number, I want yours.
If you got it, you don't have it yet? Okay.
What's that?
I'll give it to you, I'm good.
Okay, you give it me?
Is planned for paving? Do you know when that?
I don't know, she's asking when Cutshaws, you think they're gonna start paving Cutshaw? The one that's got about 19 culverts in it.
Yeah, and that's the reason why, I live on Keyway, and so that's the reason why I was asking, because one of the people who live on Keyway got a letter saying that we had to pay for the culvert and all of that stuff, but none of the rest, excuse me, none of the rest of us did. So I'm just trying to figure out when that is and
Okay,
how much it is.
I think maybe I've seen that with the guys today. So is it a row of houses?
Mhm.
And, okay. So tell me again, so I catch your whole thing, sorry. That you got a letter saying that,
I did not get a letter.
Okay.
One of the person who lives on the northwest corner, received a letter saying that we needed to replace the culvert, and then if it wasn't replaced, that they wouldn't pave that section of road.
okay.
So, one, I don't know why we all didn't get a letter.
Does the culvert go across Keyway?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why, because that's a private road, and that's one, and explaining a while ago when you say why not Keyway, when we were talking about subdivisions earlier, about trying to help pave some of these subdivisions, and that's where legal mind's gonna come in. The way that some of these subdivisions were platted for our area plan down there, if it was platted as a subdivision, we can actually pave it, because it can technically be turned over to the county. Keyway is a different animal, for the fact that each of those 2-acre properties were deeded differently. They're not in a platted subdivision. The guy just put a road down there and goes, I'm gonna sell this lot of this 2-acre lot, we'll sell this one over here, and it's not platted as a subdivision, so in turn, it can't be turned over like some of the ones that were subdivided. Is that not correct, Marty?
As far as I can tell.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's why.
Now, it is labeled a subdivision.
So
In the name of
Travis
my property.
Rutherford called me.
Yeah, yeah.
And he asked me that question, the same thing, and you know, I didn't, at the time, it didn't dawn on me. But, so, each one of you own part of the road.
Uh-huh.
To the
So,
center.
the house, the reason they got a letter in the rest of you didn't, is because it's on their property.
Yes, that culvert, as you
That culvert
pull
would
in
go-
off the highway, or off the
Okay, so
cut
that's
shaw,
part of their property?
the
It's
two,
not platted that
the
way.
two people that live on cut shaw
Yeah.
would own that part of the road.
Okay, and one of them got it, the other one didn't.
I don't know about that.
Well, that I don't know.
Well, they just want that guy to pay the $200.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the
Just,
no, and that's the other thing, because the way we try to maintain our road is one share per owner, and it's a pain in the behind to try to get everything coordinated.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure I've been called a few names, but that's okay. But we just need to know how much it, is, and, when is it gonna happen, and, when do we need to start going door to door and, collecting, because it's really, the Peacocks, that's who live there on the corner. It's not fair that they pay for that, if that is truly considered a
Right.
private road, and
Yeah,
so
I think-
I need some more information.
I think the cost of it is usually a $200 fee to put the culvert in. And that, it's a $200 fee to put the culvert in.
Okay.
The county will put it in for free, put rock on it, but it's the homeowner's responsibility for the $200.
And the 200 is not,
So.
you're right, except
How
for
many houses
sometimes
you
you
have?
have to have a bigger culvert.
Well, depending on how wide
The price can be a little.
Divide that by
bit,
12,
yeah.
it's not.
That's
I don't want to think
200 on top of the cost of the culvert, right?
So how much is the
No.
cost of the?
No, it's,
No, that's a culvert.
they're buying the culvert, we're putting it in. Now, granted, what John's saying is the road may be wider
It
than
depends on
the
how wide
average
the driveway
length
is.
of a culvert.
So it takes a big,
So it may take a
I
second.
would say
I just didn't want them to think
Yeah.
200 and end up being 300.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Get with, call
So-
the highway.
Give me your number, and I'll call you, and, because I can't give you an answer right now, on a schedule, but I will be able to.
Where are we on the, letting the road on Jack Morgan, Mrs. Morgan's road?
Actually,
We
I'm
getting
still
rid
waiting
of-
for Patrick Hauser to tell me if he can put that sleeve in that culvert. I think we'll put the one in on Meridian right there at the intersection, but
I'm all for that.
I don't have a problem putting that one in, but I'd like to put a sleeve in that other one instead of.
Are you talking about putting a liner in?
Yeah.
What's the culvert? I've got some experience in this. What's the culvert? What kind of shape's it in?
Well, the problem is they just repaved the road.
Is the bottom rotted out of the culvert?
Best thing you can do is go look at it.
Okay.
It's on,
Chad
Story,
can take you out there.
Okay.
it's on Story Avenue.
If those,
Stony Brook,
Stony
sorry.
Brook. Yeah, I can remember these.
if those things have any kind of hoe in them, so that filler they put in there, it's just like dumping water in, and it has some kind of chemical reacts and it blows up around it, you'll lose it all. I just dealt with it a few months ago.
Okay, well,
I think we're all
that's-
ready to do something, but even if we have to do it.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, Patrick, with Temple and Temple, they do that.
They do,
And I
and
wanted to see if he,
I've dealt with Patrick before, and the good thing about them is if they do it, and it's something that can be done, they'll know it, and sometimes they gotta go through and line the liner, the culvert before it gets a liner, just to keep the stuff in.
I'm talking really offhand here, but I think we're all ready to, even if we have to foot the bill.
I think we're to the
They've
point.
put,
They've done everything
even though
we've
they
asked
didn't
them.
do it perfectly we wanted.
Yeah.
They've done everything
We're
we've
just
asked
grateful
them.
they got this far.
Okay.
But
Where was it at?
It's Stony Brook, it's Jack Morgan,
Meridian and Jack
Meridian,
Morgan.
it's a private road.
And the culvert that we're talking about is on, Stony Brook and Meridian.
No,
It's
out in the middle.
yeah, it's right in the middle. It goes across.
But Chad knows where it's at, he knows about it.
Exactly, and
They're right there.
it's been private
There's
for
not one
years.
there right now.
We've had complaints, road tearing up.
And the reason I said I didn't have a problem with that one in, is because it's so close to the intersection, it's not gonna.
I see.
But they didn't do the culvert.
They didn't do the culvert, so
We're just so happy to get this.
to get paid.
We're like,
Right
I'm
now,
not a big fan. I think we can go and put.
when the water gets high, we'll go
Okay.
down the road.
All right, well, we'll take a look at it. And
I think if a
So
sleeve
you're
ain't
saying
playing, I
if
would
we
be
put
yeah,
a culvert at the
have
end
to pay
of Meridian,
yeah.
or at the end of Stony Brook on
I'll take a look
the
at
side,
it. We'll
that
get
would
it,
take
figure
care
it
of the
out.
solution.
For that part, but there's another culvert out in the center that they paved over that need to be replaced. And I didn't want to split the road up.
I didn't know.
And I was trying to see if we could line it without having to take the culvert out and put a big patch in it, because it's a brand new paved road.
I didn't know about that.
We'll have to take a look at it. I know cost efficiency wise, if it wasn't something, we put some under 62 there last year. I don't know. If it isn't like a major road that just is hard to shut down, like 65 or something like that, I just don't know. If it wasn't almost easier to dig it out and put culvert in.
Well, and that might be what we do, so, but anyway.
I'd rather.
But we'll look at it. If we can get by with
Get it
it.
done cheap, I'd rather do it right,
Yeah,
have it over, and take it into the system.
we'll look at it.
All right, thank you.
You got good luck.
He's like your dad.
Thanks again.
Instructor and program director appointment.
All right, you have letters in your packet. Of course, he's out of town with that, no, they're letters, appointment letters for their instructors. And if you'll review those and make your motions accordingly on who they want to appoint. They're asking for, well, it's on your letter. They are asking for Shannon Mount, to be appointed as lead instructor effective 5/21/21, for whatever the AEMSP program number. And then also the second letter is program director, is gonna be Heather Woods because she has the bachelor degree.
This is for the paramedic
Yes,
class.
for the paramedic class.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, unless somebody's got any questions.
Is this an emergency?
I don't know if it's an emergency or not.
No.
I don't know when they're gonna start the EMS or the paramedic, class, but I do know that, both of these appointments have to be in place before they can start the class.
I don't know if there's any more money
And I'm
involved.
assuming it was timely.
I don't think it's any money. I think it's technically just,
You gotta have the road.
it's just a name only.
It's instructor of records for the state.
And I guess, I think I know where Randy's going, I agree with you, actually, it's sometimes we jump on these things, and if we don't have to, it sometimes don't hurt to wait a little bit, but,
Can we push this off to the next
Well, I
meeting?
don't know. I really don't know either, because we don't have anybody here to answer a question.
Let's do it anyway. Let's postpone it, push it off and table it till the next meeting.
Fine with me.
So does Randy make that motion to table then?
Yeah, I'll second it.
I'll make that unanimous.
But I agree with him. Sometimes we can go in here.
Well, I
make
mean,
decisions and like.
Quite honestly, now that he says that, this director appointment or whatever for the person to oversee the program, that's what Jacob was doing before. And Jacob was doing it for a fee, so
This is somebody on staff.
so this somebody that works
It's a
there.
savings to the county,
Let's just-
and she gets appointed.
Let's just table it till the next
This
meeting.
was a
so.
good time for Kyle or somebody being here.
Yep. All right, let's move on here. Consideration of May monthly claim payments. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the claims?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Randy.
John makes a motion, Randy seconds it, and I'll make that unanimous. Sign. Consideration of claims payable to Jim Gibson.
All right,
What is that?
Gibson claim is there in front of you. This is part of the Scott County Economic Development Corporation funds that were moved to the county when the corporation basically went dormant last year. This is $1,000 that's owed to an instructor by the name of Jim Gibson for part of a grant obligation that the EDC had, and we have over $28,000 in that fund. So this $1,000 is part of what we're obligated to continue with. I was told with the email that this was sent to me that this is probably the last claim for that grant. So this is probably the last one we'll have to
Is this our
entertain.
money or is this
This is SCEDC's money that was put in their
their
fund.
fund? So that's
That's
what-
held here at the county, and they have appropriate monies to cover this, and it's a grant obligation that we have.
I'll make a motion.
I second.
I'll make that unanimous.
And that was $1,000.
That's for $1,000. The next one is a SCEDC grant, or is that the same thing?
That's the same, yeah.
All right, the next one is head equipment for $3,500.
That one?
Looks like this is for the boom cylinder for county highway garage.
Yeah.
I'll
So
make a motion.
Randy makes a motion to pay the claim for the $3,500 for a hydraulic cylinder for the
Excavator?
excavator.
Yeah, I'll second that.
John makes,
Just so you guys know, because I don't want you to get out of the loop, that's 2 cylinders.
Yeah.
it actually says quantity too.
Does it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're on training for it. You just signed it.
And me and Everett talked about that, and what they'll do is, the machine's only got 4,000 hours on it, so it would be,
Yes, sir.
beneficial to have a backup cylinders in case we need to rebuild them later.
Okay.
So that's,
Okay.
4,000 hours ain't nothing on a machine like that.
All right,
Need a motion?
well, this, I think he already did.
I don't know. Did we?
I
Did
did.
it?
Yeah, he did. You seconded it, and I made it unanimous.
Got it.
I'll do it again.
And now here's why Zach stayed here. County attorney contract.
So I don't know if everybody got a copy of the contract, but I basically used the format from Mr. Houston's contract from 2020. However, in this case, it's only for 7 months, obviously, because it's going from June 1st to the end of the year. Same equal monthly installments, but I changed mine to reflect that this is going to look a little bit like the council's contract that they had, where there was a threshold requirement of 10 hours per month worked, and any work performed after that would be billed at a rate that's included in section 2B on there. So I think the way Mr. Houston's contract worked was certain subject matters were divided up amongst, this is a little simpler, and I was working with Tammy to basically make it easier on her office so she knows exactly what you're paying for and you know what you're paying for. Everything else is fairly similar, though I did remove a section about representing criminal defendants in Scott County and Scott County courts. I think Mr. Houston had an attorney in his office who is employed as a public defender. I'm just gonna say it's my intent at this time to not take any clients in, if they have any criminal case in Scott County. And I don't have any currently, so I think I closed my last one a couple weeks ago.
The only question I have, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I thought when we discussed it, we were gonna do it $125 an hour. And we confused, we're doing it for $190 per hour. I thought in our meeting here, that was the number you quoted. Am I wrong?
That's what I'm paid in the context of other, contracts I have with government entities. If the board wants to pay me that per hour,
I don't blame you,
that's fine.
I just thought when we had our meeting, I thought you quoted 125. Am I wrong, guys? You guys were here too.
I think that was right, but I think this is the same contract Bob used to have. I think Zach cleaned it up a little bit with the 10 hours and so I'm good with how it reads. So what do you think, Randy?
Again,
Are you good?
I'm not trying to pull anything over.
No, I didn't think it's
so.
exactly the same contract.
Well, I know it is, but if I'm not wrong, I thought we quoted $125.
I think
anything over and above normal.
Anything over and above.
Above your duties to 24,000, whatever it was.
Sure.
I'm all right with it as long as you can work faster.
Well, I think one of the issues that came up, and I don't know exactly, but was that you didn't, the commissioners did not know what exactly they were paying for, and if something fell outside the scope of that first provision, section A, which is fairly limited, you were paying $190 an hour for all services. So I'm just saying that, and that was in addition to, you didn't know how, I guess maybe I'm not doing a great job of explaining it, but,
you don't have to.
Okay.
Well, I will say, if that's what we paid Bob, I don't have a problem with paying that. I just thought we had a different agreement.
Randy made a motion.
I didn't realize,
Yeah.
Randy made a motion to accept a contract. It's actually a little deviated from what Mr. Houston had, but the money's still the same. So Randy made a motion to accept the contract with Mr. Stewart here. John?
I will, just give me just a second. That's just the first time I've seen it. And I think I'm gonna be for it just fine, but I just. So retainer fee of $14,170.75.
That's for the remaining months in this year.
This year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But it'll be normally the same thing Bob would have made.
It's 2025,
yeah, I think
$2,025 a month.
5,000 something change.
It's 24 and some change.
That's what I was
change.
thinking. Okay.
But that was because he had 12 months.
Yeah.
You've already paid for 5 months, right?
If that's what we paid Bob per hour, I think you'll have the same thing. So, I don't, really, what's the cleaner
And again,
part?
I
What's
think
different here?
I think the cleaner part, I removed, he had multiple sections in compensation that were, so if there was a federal or state court claim or anything like that, and he had to file an appearance, that was covered under the 190 per hour. It was not covered under this retainer. If you had subject matter that was related to bonds, there was no hourly rate. He was paid based on the contract, based on the complexity of the bond issue that was there. He received compensation for whatever that was. But I don't know, I can quote you what he was paid.
I'm good with what we're doing here. I think and I'm not directing this at you, I'm directing it at us. And in the past 2.5 years I've been here, I think sometimes we didn't ask enough questions. To be nice.
No.
And so if I ask questions, it's not to be difficult.
Again, I think the commissioners asked me to draft my own agreement. My first thought was to start from where you had agreed last year.
Yeah.
you can amend the hourly. Again, my intention is to stay below the 10 hours.
Yeah.
So you're not paying any extra, and it's.
You'll be paying.
And it's, again, it is a 7-month contract, so if there is some type of issue, I mean, I intend to
Yeah.
work
I'm
in good faith
I'm
to
good.
change anything at any point if you feel that.
No, I'm not trying to be a disruptor. I may sound like it. I think you're gonna be good for it, but that one caught my eye there. I thought we talked differently about that.
Well, he's already getting paid extra tonight.
Hey, the board's down there last night, look.
I will still be under the.
What do you need, a motion, second, or what do you need, Bob?
You need a second.
Second it?
John seconds it, I'll make that unanimous. I do have one question though. Have you reached out and had a conversation with, sign it, John. Reached out and had a conversation with Mr. Houston?
I have.
You have or haven't?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
He put you up or get you up to date on the opioid lawsuit? I know
we did-
Josh is kind of taking that over on his.
So I have not talked to him about that specifically, but my understanding is that there's separate independent counsel on that.
Yes, there are. And actually, did you get an email on that? I mean, it's almost like it's starting to get in a gripe.
If I believe, if it's, is it Keitlinger and Gray is the?
That's one of them, but the other one's kept,
somebody.
the other one's the guy in New Orleans, which
Okay.
Duke and a half or something like that.
It almost sounds like they're not sure what we ought to be doing.
Well, I think they're just stirring the pot is what they're doing. Because the letter that I read today, or the other day, was not very polite.
Okay, I haven't talked to him. Again, I think part of it is.
I'll send you the email.
Transferring files over.
Yeah.
I got county handbook tonight. I did talk to the health department directors, I don't know if it's the director, Michelle Matter.
Michelle, she is.
She sent me a bunch of ordinances before the meeting today, so start going through those.
Yeah.
But getting up to speed on a lot of stuff really quickly, so.
Bob will stay involved with that.
He is, but I want him, I want him to understand what's going on, cause, so anyway. Let's move on here. Payroll ratification for May 21st, 2021. Everybody had an opportunity to look at it?
Yes.
I'll make a motion pass.
John makes a motion.
Second.
Randy seconds, I'll make that unanimous. Consideration of the April 26, 21 and the May 5th, 2021 meeting minutes. Everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes?
Motion to pass.
John makes a motion.
Second.
Randy seconds, so I'll make that unanimous. And we have an FMLA request again?
Is that the one that?
This is one that just evolved right before the meeting,
Yes,
so
really.
I'll pass this down.
Yes.
He might take a.
You can look at it too. I mean,
This is pretty much an emergency situation.
We have, I'll talk to you later. We gotta make sure we have somebody working. Is it yours now?
Yes, that is.
Grand Case Drive.
okay. That creates another issue, which we probably shouldn't talk about.
So having somebody there working is big.
That's what I'm saying.
But they've got him the other way out there.
Okay, all
And I
right.
tried to call today to get hold of him, wanted to make sure he was there.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the one that fills in.
yeah.
Okay, that was a question, but I didn't want to say anything because then everybody knew who we're talking about, so.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the request for FMLA.
And I'll second that.
I'll make that unanimous, so it's approved. And I'm last but least, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make that motion.
John makes a motion.
I abstain.
And maybe.
I'll second it.
Oh, I think I have a copy.
You second that motion?
I had to, because Randy said he still wants to stay here.
Oh, gosh. No, Randy.
It may be nothing, but just drop
been
on
so much
3
fun.
o'clock.
I mean,
Let's kill it now.
Is it anything we can discuss? After you look at it, you know what to do.